explore. Imperfect visions like I've been here before. Falling faster, I try to ignore. I see you, I see you. I'll let you drag me to hell if you hold my hand. Tell me this is real and it will never end. This is not what I came here to find. Memories show that I'm out of time. See a shadow, don't know if it's mine, but I see you, I see you, I see you, I see I'll let you drag me to hell if you hold my hand. Tell me this is real and it will never end.
Way too many faces in the crowd, but I think that I see you. One too many drinks got me changing up the way that I need you. Now we're both at a bar, acting like it's not hard, trying to feel something different. Talk to somebody new, kinda wish it was you, kinda numb to the feeling. Now that you're gone, they say time should heal, but it's been too long. Couple months and I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to. I can't seem to. Now that you're gone, I can't seem to. I can't seem to. Laying on my floor, thinking about all the things that we've been through. From 24/7 to pretending like I never met you. No, it's all for the best, 'cause I know we're a mess every time we're together. Going out of my mind, and I wish I could lie, tell you that it gets better. Now that you're gone, they say time should heal, but it's been too long. Couple months where I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to move on. I can't seem to. I can't seem Take it as a compliment, honey.
I wish we stayed the same.
Happy Friday, everybody! It is another and the last Friday Overwatch session we are going to have here at NECC for our regular season. I can't believe we're already here. It's just flown by, but as they say, time flies when you're having fun. And I know myself, Tiny Shiny, and my co-caster for the night, Twin Salty, we've definitely enjoyed ourselves these last few weeks.
Oh yeah, it's been a chaotic stretch of weeks here in the NECC. You never know what you're really going to get. And now we got one final night here, like you said, in the regular season for some very important seeding matches as we get ready into playoffs.
Yeah, with top 4 teams from each division moving on to the playoffs, or each conference, excuse me, we'll then move on to the division playoffs. When you're already at the top, or at least in this case, for our first match in the top 2 teams, you don't have to worry about the qualifying. You did the hard part. Now the question is, are you going to have that number 1 seed or the number 2, which is a massive difference, especially for that first round.
Yeah, being able to earn that number 1 seed is a massive advantage going into the tournament because you have that map pick advantage for map 1. And you're going to be feeling yourself. You know you're the top team coming out of your division and out of your conference for your division. So it is going to be a major boost for these teams here in Division 4 to start us off tonight, looking to do just that.
Yep, we have the Worcester Polytechnic Institute, undefeated so far at 6-0, taking on the current second-place team in Marywood University at 5-1. And again, Marywood flawless so far this season up until last week. That's when they had their first loss against the University of Ottawa, now coming in today to hope they can have a chance at taking that number seed away from their opponent.
Yeah, looking to avenge their first loss of the season, like you said last week, a team that WPI beat 3-1 just 1 week prior to that. So, yes, you could say advantage here is for WPI, but we've seen this meta. It can really just be on matchups, right? It could just be a comp that Ottawa ran that Marywood didn't know really how to deal with, but WPI did. So let's see here tonight if Marywood can avenge that loss and earn that number 1 seed.
And it's always a coin toss. You don't know what you're walking into for every single map. And because there are so many collegiate Overwatch teams these days, it's literally impossible to prepare for everybody. You don't know what you're going to get. And that's half the fun of Overwatch, being able to adapt on the fly and make these changes as issues arise. Now, of course, given this information, you have to assume that WPI is the favorite to win today. They are the GOATs, after all, which I actually find fantastic. And we'll see. If they go 7-0, we'll call them the GOATs, like officially for this, or 6-0, excuse me. We'll call them the GOATs, and that's where we're going to end it. But you got to get there first. Marywood aren't going to let that go away easily. And in fact, they're just going to give us a curveball right off the bat. They're going to pick Samoa for map number 1. And Jesse, this isn't one we see a whole lot.
Yeah, where are the holy texts? Where's Li Zhang? Where's Nepal and Ilios? Like, where is the normal? But no, I think it's, if you want to play more of this dive, I think Samoa is a safe bet because you can run it basically at all 3 control points. Yes, you can even run poke to a certain degree on these, but it'll be the Tracer and Lucio bans coming in. So obviously taking away a big flanker option there in the Tracer, but also trying on the other side for WPI, trying to slow down the pace a little bit, unless you want to run the Juno, who's let's be honest, has really fallen out of the meta since Wu Yang went into the mix.
it's a sad day to be a Juno main. That's just how it is in
Yeah.
Overwatch. She had her like months of meta. I think it's okay. We're back to Lucio Town. He was sad. He had to take a little bit of a vacation, but he's back.
Yeah.
Well, not for Samoa. So next map, maybe we'll see him unless he's banned again. But we are probably looking at Kiriko Wuyang backlines for the majority of this, unless there's some crazy strat that we haven't quite seen yet to come out, which it is Division 4. I think there's a lot more wiggle room for that to be a thing. Hard meta. I don't think that should exist in anything that's like not the top 0.01%. So I like it when players get creative. I like it when they play to their strengths and are willing to try new things.
Yeah, especially here in D4. Like you said, we're not in top D1, right, where they're going to be running meta. You got players who have OWCS experience. You're just never going to see that here in Div 4. They may try and replicate it, but I feel like in teams, and for teams at this level, it's just playing what's comfortable, while also, yes, you're obviously still going to pay attention to the meta, see what's being played to find your version, and that's what we see immediately there from WPI. We have the Zarya, who's been all over the place for the last month or so, as well as the Wuyong and the Kiriko. And then the Genji with the Reaper. It is all up in the grill of Marywood. And Faintest, this Maga, they may have a little bit of fun with this because the Reaper and the Genji is going to make their life a little difficult.
Yeah, I was gonna say, want to talk about being up in their grill. How about a Malga from Faintest? That's something
Yeah.
for sure. WPI are gonna be playing off these Zarya bubbles with scrolls. That's kind of get him in. And I was curious too if Maynard was going to stick on the Symmetra, which appears he will for the time being. It's gonna help get Faintest in and out, get some cheeky turrets down, maybe some flanks. But it just depends on the setup, and it's more emphasis on the team play and can really throw a bunch of people off guard. Unfortunately, Faintest popped like a balloon before any of that could happen. You already said, Jesse, this is going to be a rough time to be a Malga into the WPI DPS line.
Yeah, the Maga just gets burned and already. Faintest, realizing this plan is not going to work. They go over to the Winston, which I don't know if it's necessarily the perfect answer, but I don't know if there is one, honestly, going into this. Because even if you match the Zarya, there's just more firepower coming in from the Ghost. But Mana, they also swap over to the Venture, obviously, with the Tracer ban. You have limited options on flank, but the Venture's been creeping back into the meta, and it's not too bad of an option.
Ooh. See, this is a pick I can get behind. Squeaker, though, forcing Maynut to burrow to safety. And the rate, that's 2 major cooldowns out of the DPS, and Faintest had already committed, and there was nobody to follow up because of the pressure that Squeaker was able to apply to the people that were supposed to be there and hold hands with the Winton and do the actual damage, since you just have a tickle gun.
Yeah, and you tell Faintest, like, help? Anybody? No? Alright, where does GG go next fight? No, the Goats. 3 ultimates already on the board, and you still Shadow Bow, looking for one already.
Going in, Tidal Blast, Death Blossom combo, only gonna grab Cell with 1 support down. Faintest not feeling the love there as he leaped into the back line to attempt to stay away from Shadow Bow in the front.
Yeah, Faintest tries to dive in, but because of the Blossom, nobody is around to help them whatsoever. And they will now just match the Zarya, realizing, hey, the Winston, you can't even get into the open space where the Winston could get some value, so now they just have to match Scrolls, who now has the Graviton Surge in their pocket with only 1 fight remaining here for potentially the Ghosts to go perfect on round 1.
Oh, Scrolls 2 on the fling. It's gonna grab onto the bubble. Only goes onto the already Wraith Reaper, but even that won't be enough to keep Downpour on his feet. WPI Goats waltzing their way through map number 1. There's no way Marywood Green are gonna get a touch. This is just gonna be the volcano, all the area of the Goats.
Yeah, the Goats start off strong here in round 1, 100-0. And Squeaker just at the end of the play just for a little bit of flair. It doesn't really mean a whole lot, but the Goats start off strong. It just feels like after that first fight, Marywood Green, at least they abandoned the Maga very early. But look at this, not even an elimination to their name quite yet. It was just all Goats. And you see the damage. Shadow Bow over 3,000 Scrolls, almost has 3,000 as well. And the Ghosts are just able to hold down that choke point so well. Marywood never really able to get a full set play off, let alone get an elimination from it. So going to be back to the drawing board here for Marywood. They will go back onto the Symmetra to at least TP out of spawn and try and get over to point a little bit faster. And Downpour now will try and match the range a little bit. A Squeaker goes over to the Freya. Downpour over to the Soj.
I'm curious, Marywood, as you said, they just couldn't even get their foot in the door. Their toes kept getting crushed. And that's not a fun feeling at all in a match like this. With Squeaker being on this Freya, I do fear for this team if they aren't able to walk, or rather keep Faintest safe from these bubbles. But you're already down cell here. Vertex not faring all that much better on the backline. So the Goats want to continue to put this pressure on, and you can tell that Marywood just haven't been ready for how quickly WPI is approaching them in these choke points, in these fights. Even made not the attempt to dive with the bubble. It couldn't do all that much because Squeaker had plenty of support on the top, so the Goats have quite an advantage on the point, but there's still a couple Marywood members hanging around, seeing what they can do to keep this up. But yeah, that kill on a Vertex should go do it.
Yeah, Squeaker 2 final blows on the end as well. And you said it. WPI, they're playing at such a quick pace. Marywood just don't know how to answer during a lot of these fights. As soon as WPI engage, they're almost finding elimination within a second or two. And it's just been a real struggle so far for Marywood to try and find any sort of quick counterpunch before the elimination's drawn.
Been a tough round. You can see the volume that these bubbles are getting, and the Freya Squeaker helped burst Faintest down. Both bubbles had to be expended just to keep the teammates up. Faintest couldn't even use them selfishly in that regard, and Marywood sent back to the spawn because of it. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh.
And okay. Wrecking ball in now for Faintest, which granted this round in particular on Samoa is super wide open. It could work. And Mena already, the Cassidy swap works out great. I'm assuming a flash on a Shadow Bow eliminates the Reaper, but gets traded out.
The 1-for-1 doesn't amount to much, and because Elias has this early Kitsune rush with no response available from Cell, WI can just keep walking forwards. They have Scrolls leading the squad as usual. The bullet shot attempting to scroll out Faintest, but he's gonna roll away to safety just to be met with the hands of Shadow Bow.
Yeah, Shadow Bow comes back with a vengeance after getting eliminated at the very beginning of the fight. I will say this Freya tech is fantastic from Squeaker, even though it's reminds me why I will never play Freya, because I don't have it. I do not have the moves to do that.
No, but who does have moves? It's Shadow Bow doing a little dance of death, almost in the spawns now of Marywood Green. Does get the one kill, and that's usually all it's going to be. WPI haven't been pushing too hard. They just get the one, and they back off.
Yeah, they're willing to take these trades and just elongate the fight out, because they know if we get the full wipe, cool. But that just allows Marywood to fully reset. That grab is diabolical.
Mid-air grab, direct connection onto Faintest. Just holds him there as like a pinata for the rest of the team to swat at. It's a sad day for Marywood without the tank, and Dana doesn't even have an opportunity to get that own ultimate off. There'll be a couple of quick cleanups here, but this was WPI Goats through and through. This Zarya from Scrolls, so oppressive.
Yeah, it's just so good. And WPI, they'll win map 1 clean 200-0 across both rounds. And the Goats looking to remain perfect here in Division 4. And yeah, Shadow Bow with the Reaper. Hey, love the skin. So it's so good, but a lot of these set plays have just been Shadow Bow goes in, they get the bubble from their tank, and they pop off, right? And I think the Cassidy swap is a step in the right direction here. For Marywood, but you could obviously there's a lot more than that needs to be done here if Marywood want to bring this even.
Shadow Bow does what Shadow Bow wants. That's what I learned from map number 1. It's just enabled by players like Scrolls, from what we saw in the most part. Even Zarya and Reaper, we were talking about meta and how, you know what, Division 4, you can do whatever you want. You can kind of mess around with that. You can get creative. This is something we're seeing at the highest levels of gameplay here. And it's a very strong synergy between the Zarya and the Reaper together. And it's not an incredibly difficult one to synergize either, which is why I think we're seeing the teams that are playing it often have these really strong leads.
Yeah, as soon as you get the ball rolling with this kind of comp, it's so hard to stop it, because all of a sudden, oh, we have Death Blossom that we can pair with a bubble, and then we can build the grab, and then, oh, there's still a Genji Dragon Blade they have to worry about in some of these fights as well. So it's every single fight you're dealing with such an impactful ultimate. it's not like in some metas you have some support ultimates and then you have like the big one, right? The big combo, whatever it is. In this meta, in this comp, you have one almost every fight once you get the ult rotations going, and that's why it's so hard to stop the snowball. So now for Marywood, where do you go? Obviously, you could say dive could be a play. They've shown the Winston already and the Wrecking Ball, so they obviously are comfortable with it. But you still have to worry about the Genji as well from WPI, who, yes, was a little bit more silent in the map, but it's not because they weren't playing well. It's just, yeah, you have Shadow Bow just kind of going everywhere, and that takes a lot of the attention.
Yeah, Zarya Reaper on any control map is just not fun if you're not able to mirror it or have a super comfortable option on it, and that's kind of what we saw from Marywood. They spent a lot of time during both of those rounds trying different heroes out, which it does show, you know, something isn't working. The Cassidy did have some decent success from May, not at the end. It was just a little bit too late to actually have the amount of impact that you needed it to. So there have been some things that have been ironed out. I agree, dive is one of your best directions you could lean into, since especially on maps where dive is strong, Zarya typically isn't. So if you are able to take us to like a Watch Point Gibraltar or a Dorado or something along those lines, perhaps we can see Marywood come out into that form that we've seen them in, being that 4-1 team.
Yeah, you gotta find some sort of pivot here for Marywood, and obviously, you know, that Zarya ban you would rather keep for a traditional rush map, whether it be, you know, a King's Row, or once we get to Flashpoint or Push, Zarya is good pretty much on all of them, right? It's not like she has a bad map other than maybe New Junk City isn't the best for her, but you still wouldn't be totally against running the Zarya there. So I think you want to save that map for a WPI map pick, if possible, if you're the Pacers. But we also don't know. They could just easily pull hey, we're going to go King's Row, right? Like, go Comfort, go Rush, and then just ban out the Zarya, and whether it be Orisa or Maga, whatever it may be, going that route. But taking a little bit of time here, our Marywood, trying to figure out what the next play is. But it is going to be actually New Queen Street.
Okay.
So is that Zarya ban on the way?
You'd have to think so.
Or the Reaper. One of the, it's got to be one of the two, right?
Yeah, because the power of just that overall comp decreases if one of those components are taken out. So as long as you can get one, I'd feel better about a New Queen Street. But also shout out Marywood for picking these maps that we don't get to see on broadcast. It's like always the same stuff all the time, but we're stepping out of our comfort zone here, and I'm okay with a nice trip to Canada for New Queen Street. I am curious on the bans. Surely it has to be one of them. Gonna be neither.
Or not.
We get a Wooyong ban instead. So, and the Cassidy's taken away. That was the one thing that did work kind of well at the end. So Marywood, they gotta have something cooking if you're gonna pick a map like New Queen Street. But the Zarya Reaper, Jesse, it's still very much present.
Yeah, you can tell the goats are like, oh, you didn't ban a DPS? All right, yeah, Cass is gone. Like, Cassidy is not staying, because that screams to me that, yes, this Zarya Reaper comp from the goats is going to return. But it does pull up the question of, like, what are the Pacers wanting to run? And maybe they're just thinking, hey, we can take away the Wooyong, and we're going to run full dive, whether it be, you know, the Lucio Kiriko or something else. Even, you know, Brig Ana has been played occasionally on this map, but that's usually because Lucio or Kira is banned. So once we get a glimpse here of what they're thinking, yeah, it's going to be that Lucio Kiriko with the Winston. So they're just thinking, we don't necessarily need the Wooyong, so let's take it out now. For the goats, actually, a slightly different look being teased. They will not run the Zarya, and instead will run the Junker Queen, which has seen some play in Flashpoint and Push, but definitely more of a niche pick depending on how comfortable your tank is, because it can be exploited if you get a little out of position.
Which is the entire goal of Marywood's comp. You're putting Faintus back on this Winston so that you can isolate, divide, and conquer, right? It's going to be hard to lock down any of WPI's particular heroes, but that's going to be the overall goal. And because this Tracer is back into play, that is going to have a lot of implication on how this goes. I want to keep an eye on where Squeaker and Maynut are posting up. This is a nice knife from Skulls into the Tracer early. So Maynut has to back off. Meanwhile, Downpour just gets run down by Squeaker while Maynut is occupied with Shadow Bow. bit of a 1-for-1 in the DPS department. The tanks are feeling relatively healthy while all this chaos is happening. Kegwhite say same for Vertrex. That's a blink melee mid-air from Squeaker. Still firing on all cylinders after that first map.
Yeah, you can tell Shadowbow is one of the main targets here for Marywood, and they do find that opening kill,
no.
and actually Cell finds one before Squeaker sends them back down. But you could tell after that, like, they didn't really have another dive target. They were so spread out from that initial dive, and the Goats, they're gonna take advantage of that every single time. Squeaker's almost got a pulse bomb already, and Scrolls more acted as kind of as a force to deny any sort of bot progress for the Pacers rather than getting a ton of eliminations, which they're going to be completely fine with.
This isn't a I'm gonna run at you type Junker Queen. This is a I'm hanging back so I can keep the Winton off my backline. And look what Skulls did! That was a boop, had the knife there, and a bunch of sharp objects found itself into Faint's body. Squeaker there, helped clean up the last couple of kills. That's a triple for the final blows. And yeah, this Tracer is becoming a massive issue.
Yeah, and already some swaps coming in here for the Pacers. Feint test. We'll go over to the Diva, which, yes, it's a little bit easier if you're getting counter dove by Scrolls to get out of it, but it's still going to be a little tricky because, like you said, Scrolls is playing way more passive and just trying to protect the backline. Squeaker, on the other hand, trying to make Downpour's life very difficult.
Well, Downpour's dead, and that's unfortunate because he really would have liked to have an overclock in that situation. It's just this Kitsune Rush. Cell, she hasn't had the time to press the trigger. Perhaps now she'll think about it since Vertrex was able to grab one to even it out. It's just too late. Scrolls already in the back line, and this robot just gonna keep plugging ahead.
Yeah, the bot actually stood still for most of that fight. So that'll give maybe Marywood a little more confidence that it's not completely over yet as Faintest. Why not? We'll add it to the tank bingo card. We're halfway there already on the Roadhog, which isn't a horrible counter, but can't counter that.
Well, you can, actually. There is a Suzu.
Well,
so Cell did place that onto Faintest. Sorry, Jesse, you don't get to be right about everything today. But, yeah, for that we do have a Death Blossom, Shadow Blow. Gonna keep walking up ahead, chuck a couple shots into the Roadhog. He gets Vertrex in the spawn. WPI not allowing any breathing room for the Pacers.
Yeah, just continuing to march on forward. As much as the Roadhog can't help with Scrolls, it's going to be very difficult once you add Shadow Bow into the equation because the tale is all his time. The Reaper loves shooting Roadhog. It is the easiest, and Squeaker loves landing pulse bombs. 3 already in the fight for the Tracer. Where did they land that?
I don't even know where he landed that. I'm more concerned about the fact I don't see any of Squeaker's teammates around when he got those 3 kills. That was just Squeaker doing Squeaker things, and that is ridiculous to have to say. Thanks to swapping to the Junker Queen last second to get it just. You have the ultimate, but it doesn't land onto Downpour. 4v5 already for this team, and it's only Maynard's Pulse Bomb, the only real fighting power, but perhaps this Kitsune Rush will do enough. That's 2 down. Elias being the big one. Hook could theoretically re-engage with this sound barrier if WPI are feeling spicy, but the particular situation, you have 5 minutes, it's safe to reset and go for another push.
Yeah, no need to throw in ult recklessly here. You basically need just one fight at the end of this to win the map, and you have over half the time bank left still. Squeaker, they definitely want the Tracer, but instead Squeaker still finds another. They're turning the fight back onto the Pacers. Squeaker eliminates themselves with the Pulse Bomb. Maybe Vertrex a little bit like, hey, I'm taking you down with me if I'm going down to this Pulse. But they do flip the point around once again here.
Yeah, and you just can't get enough of the Goats down in order to get the significant push. These forward spawns haven't been unchecked since they've been unlocked. May not, though. I mean, you still have this Pulse Bomb, but Squeaker on his back, trying to stay away, but there's just not even an option for the payload, though. Moving up, less than a meter remaining. This got a little scary. Another Pulse Bomb stick from Maynut this time, but it was onto the tank, and it didn't quite do the damage that you needed it to. The Rampage, on the other hand, that landed onto 3. Bionade onto Vertrex, somehow anteed up, which I'm not entirely... Oh, that was the Rampage on the other side from Scrolls, and yeah, that will go ahead and do it for WPI. Full completion on New Queen Street. And on match point, Jesse, this team looking very much like the #1 seed they currently are.
Yeah, if anything so far this series has shown, there's a reason why the Goats are on top. It's just been absolutely just perfection so far from them. And yeah, Shadow Bow at the end, like that was cute from Faintest. But yeah, let's get this done. Let's get this wrapped up. And you wonder now, okay, is a dive map, a traditional dive map, the only way they can move forward? Because they tried to go to a map they're obviously comfortable with, and they had a game plan set up, but maybe not necessarily the counterpunch they thought they were going to expect. They were expecting that Zarya to be back, and instead it's a Junker Queen that led to more distraction, which this time, instead of it being the Reaper, it was a Tracer that was just all over the place for WPI.
And the unfortunate part about the Tracer is you already banned it. Map number 1,
Yeah.
so Squeaker will have access to that pick the entire rest of this series, because I'm not going to expect that to be banned away after that performance. This is a tough spot, you got to say, for Marywood to be in. This is a full, we got to figure it out and fully reset before we head into map 3 of this game. You are on match point. It's not the best feeling, but there is still time for you to make those adjustments and let there be a chance to push this series further.
Yeah, I would think maybe like a watch point, right? And granted, that's like the go-to, it feels like recently. Like, oh, if you want to try dive, go watch point. But it feels like that may be one of the only options left. I doubt you would go to a Suravasa here, because that'll either play into the Zarya or the Junker Queen hands. Like, both are very viable on Flashpoint. And I wouldn't think of any hybrids that are necessarily perfect. Numbani could be okay.
Numbani?
Like
I mean, that would be a
Blizzard
Marywood thing. That's a weird one.
Blizzard World could be okay, but I fear that right now it feels like the GOATs, to their namesake, are the GOATs right now of this conference in Division 4. They're just looking absolutely unstoppable right now.
Yeah, this is very much. I'm starting to see why this team is undefeated. They have, and the fact that they've had this meta for most of the season too, and they're flexible, pulling out the Junker Queen. This Tracer is ridiculous. Just not only seeing Squeaker play her, but the hero as a whole is really good. So having someone who is really strong on that particular pick is a massive asset for this team and the success that they've had. It just kind of depends how, like, what else are they hiding from us? They've only played 2 comps so far, Jesse. Who knows? They could have a secret dive comp that we just haven't seen because Marywood has picked all the maps so far.
Yeah, maybe they could just have one in there like, hey, you know, if needed, hey, we have the dive and break glass, but we'll have to see. Marywood got a chance to let us start the reverse sweep, but we'll find out what map we're going to right after this.
I got way too many thoughts in my brain. I got memories that run through my veins. I'm not one to blame, but I could point out every way that you changed. Some things stay up while others go right down the drain. And lately we've been going down in flames. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in the nirvana. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in the nirvana. But if I'm my therapist is saying that I should. I don't believe her, but I really wish I could. Instead, I guess I'll stay misunderstood. Oh, 'cause I'm stuck now, just trying to figure a way out. I've tried but can't seem to slow down. I don't know if I want to. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. Hold on till I'm lost in the nirvana. But if I'm honest, I get in my feels when I want you. Say you feel it too, I'll haunt you. can't seem to slow down, and I don't know if I want to.
Surprise! We're back early. It's because we couldn't wait to see more Division 4 Overwatch. And we are ready, actually, for map number 3 right now. Marywood's final pick of the day. They're going to pick Saravasa, Jesse, and this one's fascinating. Not because it's a weird map pick this time, but because this is highlighting all the strengths we've seen from WPI so far.
Yeah, you know, I was saying before break, like, oh, I would think they're not picking Saravasa. They picked Saravasa, and they didn't ban Zarya or Reaper. Houston, we may have a problem. That's not good. The Pharah ban, theoretically, yes, Pharah can be good on Saravasa, so maybe it's a little bit of maybe past trauma from games on this map that they're wanting to kind of expel their demons with the Pharah. It's a Winston ban on the other side for WPI. I think they've realized, like, it's something they're comfortable on, but honestly, they're probably say, hey, they didn't ban the Reaper or the Zarya. Cool. Or like, you know, they're probably pretty content with how that ban phase went.
The goats, they're vibing. And even if they did ban the Zarya, you still have this Junker Queen pick. Or why not, Scrolls? Be flexible. Show us more. We got the Hazard teased at the start. For Marywood, I'm not going to talk about the DPS line until that's confirmed, but I think starting out on something like this Junker Queen that is brawly, it's fast, and it can keep up with this high pace that the GOATs have been setting so far is a very good answer to what we have seen. But it's going to be very dive heavy from the GOATs. We do get to that look after all. Not on a traditional dive map, but Saravasa. Last shot now for Marywood.
Oh, so the Torb is real.
Okay, okay.
I see it as, okay, they obviously want to keep an eye on Squeaker, right? Like, that's the core of the pick here. There's actually not a ton of range to break that turret early. It's not like Scrolls even has a ton of range. You almost have to rely on Elias, who actually does break it initially, and that allows Squeaker to move in. But, yeah, you can tell they've had enough of Squeaker's impact after map 2.
Yeah, I just see Downpour, like, hovering over the top of the stairs, looking for him, and you saw one problem with the Tracer, and suddenly your Lucio has a knife stuck to them thanks to Elias. Still does manage to get a 1-for-1. It is dive comp, though, already so far into the backline. Marywood are fighting hard, doing their best to sustain. It is something a Junker Queen comp can be good at, both the Suzu and teleport out from Cell. Shadow over there to bring out the broom and get the Ghosts. Their first capture, if they can manage to burn down Faintest, since I believe Scroll actually ended up dying earlier on. So Marywood are going to keep themselves on the point and stall this out for as long as they can.
Yeah, they'll stall it out for a little bit. And actually, Marywood, they capped during the beginning here, and that's why Mayna is even going to try and stall this out an extra second. So 58% for Marywood. Actually, I think it's their first progress of any kind during this series. They didn't get a meter.
They got a 0.5 meters, 0.51 meters.
Oh,
that's
okay,
something.
Okay. So what? They got a crumb?
Okay, well, they got half the flashpoint. More than that. That's great.
Yeah, so hey, progress is progress. The Torb's already working, and now the Cast City know that's not bad. Actually do like the swap to help with Shadowbow and Squeaker even more.
I was kind of surprised we didn't see the start on the Cassidy.
Yeah,
it is still the GOATs, though, controlling this tempo. Elias has been winning the race to these Kitsune rushes more often than not, but that is a massive rampage. It was on to 3, 2 of which were cleansed. Plo Koon barely hanging on to life. Now Squeaker and Shadowbow get themselves where they want to with the supports, and Scrolls will just slice his way through.
Yeah, taking full advantage of the Tidal Blast from Plo Koon, and yeah, just sets up more eliminations with that hack and slash playstyle that Hazard just loves. And now 90% counting Marywood. They may have a touch.
They're gonna try. They have a ton of ult to do this with, but they lose on Vertrex, and with that out of the picture and Shadowbow's blade still out of the sheath, you're not feeling too great for the Pacers at this time. The sound barrier would have been their saving grace in that moment, but because Vertrex was the victim of all of that focus fire, not an opportunity to proc it out. The GOATs will end up closing out Market.
Yeah, mark it. After that initial cap from Marywood, a clean 100-0 from the Goats. And again, they've actually shown a fantastic array of comps tonight, right? We've seen the Zarya, we've seen the Junker Queen, now the Hazard, which has been in and out of the meta as of late. The Goats showing us a lot of different looks here, which I think is part of the reason why, you know, the Pacers are so, you know, confused on where to go, because they know if they try and hard counter this, they can just swap over to the Junker Queen or Zarya.
There's not too many answers here. They're just hoping they can do this with all the ults, forcing the pace and catching scrolls at the tail end of the Deadeye there. Perhaps didn't expect it to still be held. But Marywood should just be able to get capture off of not having a tank for the Goats.
Yeah, Marywood win another fight, and now they have, you know, a little bit to work with here. They got the ult from Downpour just to kind of lay out over on point, try and deny a little bit of that early flip, but that's really going to be about it. It's more that Consumers from Elias that I'd be worried about more, or the Cactus from Scrolls.
You're not supposed to hug those, as Maynut found out the hard way. Squeaker, a couple of casual cleanups, as we're used to seeing from him and, yeah, Marywood Green. They tried to hold on to this high ground. They had the right idea. Unfortunately for them, Scrolls, Squeaker, and Shadowbow can all get up and meet them there quite easily.
Yeah, I love how we're talking about this a little bit. Squeaker's just unbothered. Like, we look at that POV, nobody turn around. Dude, everybody from everywhere is just living their best life, trying to think like, well, if we don't pay attention to the Tracer, they can't do anything to us, right? The answer, no. The answer is no. Everybody, that's a great stun early on. At least send Shadowbow back. We're only for a moment.
And Downpour onto 3. Skulls does end up going down, so there is a window to work with for Marywood, especially since Faintest still has this rampage. Oh my goodness, Squeaker on it with these blank melees. The Junker Queen falls too, not even a chance to react.
That was disgusting. Right, like you got the Downpour in from Scroll. Shadowbow gets one slash off before they get killed by Downpour, and Squeaker goes in to finish up the rest. And it's just, again, it's been this tank plus DPS combos from the Goats that have just gotten them so much success today, and now Scrolls is back for more.
And get a bit of deja vu in this fight, but that's a 3-person knockdown into the back. Scrolls, though, left without supports. Both were hit with the Rampage, and nobody could follow up on the tank. Marywood Green, they're keeping themselves afloat here. Gonna get another flip on Palace.
Yeah, nice little beautiful cleanse, actually, from Cell. She does a lot during that fight, because I think it actually denied the knockdown from the Tidal Blast. Yeah, so that helps a lot in that fight, and now Marywood, the Pacers, are only one fight away from getting this back to 1-1, and they have both support ultimates to do it.
Marywood Green, this is your chance. You should win, probably, right?
Maybe.
I would like to see them go first, and it will be Cell to put the town, but no, the Deadeye's out, but the Soundbearer only now coming through, but Scrolls again disrespects Maynut's Deadeye. So now there's no take on either side. It's utter chaos, and Vertrex gave the team a sound barrier, so they're feeling pretty good. The turret never dealt with, and Squeaker is playing in an anti-Tracer world against the Cassidy Torbjorn. That'll be a point. Going over to Marywood Green, they are not down and out yet.
Yeah, not quite yet, as Platoon kind of just stuck out by coast. No real way to get out efficiently, but they just get left for dead, so it'll be a very long rotation over for the Wuyang, who at least has some pretty fantastic mobility, but that was the kind of set of fights we wanted for the Pacers, right? Get them back into this, find some momentum after 2 straight maps. I'm kind of just getting bullied into a corner.
It's not a fun spot to be if you're shoved into a locker with your lunch money stolen. And WPI, that's kind of been the situation for Scrolls, though. A lot of this focus has been going onto the tank. Marywood understanding that, hey, we can punish him for his aggressive playstyle, and Maynut been a big part of that with the amount of poke damage that can go through. And this ends without really a fight taking place.
Yeah, man, I think Marywood may have found the answer here. Scrolls actually off of the Hazard now. And the Sigma is an interesting play, but the rush into the JQ may help.
Yeah, it's hard to walk forward as a Sigma, but Shadowbow, he can climb walls. He doesn't need to do walking. It's overrated, although 60 HP, not super healthy. Gonna have to wait for the rest of that to go out, and because Elias had a TP to Shadowbow, no Suzu there for Skrulls or Platoon for the Rampage. Ventus put down, gets caught up by the stealing turret. Oh, that's an unfortunate way to die. Downpour and Maynut have made these DPS's lives miserable with their swaps, and WPI now swapping over to Mirror, seeing they haven't found an answer.
Yeah, I think the Sigma was okay at its core, but I think it's just easier to match the Rush. The Sigma just gets ran over so often on this style of map. Now the Kitsune Rush will go in, but Squeaker now with the Molten Core.
And a Kitsune Rush can't go anywhere unless you equip your boots a Lava Walk. Maynut, though, that's another kill with the Deadeye. I'm starting to think this ultimate's actually good, thanks to him. Although it might not be, WPI get the flip, but a major numbers advantage, or actually for equal in numbers, was for Marywood until they lost their second DPS. Faintest, though, being the one that's alive, means that that tank presence will overwhelm in the end. Marywood, that's a flip over to overtime, and WPI, they're not even going to contest. Marywood, one more flashpoint, and they get a map win.
Yeah, Marywood proven, my initial input wrong here. I thought it was a bad call, and so far they've proved that to be not the case. Is they finally find some sort of momentum here with this Torb. Cassidy has really limited the value of Squeaker, who's actually got caught on the rotation early on and has to play the side angle when Marywood makes their way over to point.
They're there first, which is great for the case of Squeaker. You can get set up, put your turret where you want to, but Ventus has that Rampage online. Elias just TPs out. Skrulls had no Suzu in sight because the cooldown had already been popped. And it's a quick rundown of these fights. Squeaker knowing it's over, gonna have to reset.
Yeah, very quick reset goes in from the Goats, and yeah, that was just beautiful engage from Faintus, right? Goes in with the Rampage. And with the Rampage, at that point, it's done. And now the Cassidy taking advantage of the new ability and the new perk. But now the Goats, you gotta think, what's the answer here necessarily? Squeaker's been silenced ever since they swapped over to the Tor. Maybe this rush from Elias can bring something back, but again, you said the Deadeye's actually getting value.
Oh boy, the Suzu. Yeah. It's out. Surely nobody gets caught, right?
Surely.
Nobody? Okay, we're chill. We just need to watch Maynut do it, and then nobody dies. That's the lesson we've learned. But Vertrix sent Squeaker to an early demise. The tempo change has completely gone in the favor of Marywood, but you did lose out on your tank. Vertrix knows it. Sound barrier laid out, hoping to compensate for that loss and get a Rampage online on the other side. But yeah, Scrolls unleashes that and hit every single remaining player. And the Goats, finally, not feeling the panic as much.
I will say that spider turret placement from Downpour, that diabolical. That is, it's such an awkward spot for anybody to shoot. And that's why we've seen it stay up for so long. But like I said, the Goats finally get a fight to go back their way. A beautiful carnage there from Skrulls onto Faintus to eliminate the other JQ. But now again, power of the rush goes back into the Pacers' hands. Shadowbow looking for a little bit of a flank.
Shadowbow doing Shadowbow things, but it is snuck down! Oh no, Vertrix! Since it reeling off the map, you needed that Death Blossom to keep it going. But Marywood, this is final fight, and they know it. They're dumping all the kitchen sink duels out onto this one. It's only Maynut in the kill feed. The flip is over. It's a swap over to the Wrecking Ball, but Skrulls, no, collides with the pillar. That's gonna go ahead and do it. Makes eye contact with it at the end. Marywood, I'm hearing signs of life. The heart's beating here, Jesse. This team is not ready to give up yet.
Yeah, if you're going to have a reverse sweep, you gotta start it somehow, and right there is how you do it. Map 3 goes the way of the Pacers, and they finally find an answer to this aggression from WPI, and it's the Cassidy and the Torb. Great job overall from Downpour, really silencing the DPS who have been all over the place from the Goats. And suddenly, Marywood, they have found life.
Yeah, they found it, and they're gonna try to hold on to it as best as possible. They're not gonna have control of the first ban or the map pick from going on out, so I have a feeling we're seeing that Torbjorn go bye-bye in a moment, if we had to guess, but the bans have gone nowhere from what we've expected so far tonight, so we very well could eat our words on that, and I'd be okay with it. I'm down for some more shenanigans, but this was also Merrywood realizing that not only is this tank punishable for his positioning, he goes in fast, he doesn't give any spot base away from this team, and he just goes in by himself. Like, we can either pull a turn and board, and then we could just play DPS that make it impossible for a Genji Tracer to exist.
Yeah, it's like anything you want to achieve with all this, these aggressive plays, we're just gonna silence that, right? Like we're gonna tame that down to like a 2. And it worked out. They slowed the fights down a little bit. You can almost tell that WPI were getting a little antsy, right? Like they want to play fast, they want to get in your face, and when you have so much CC to deal with, and you have the spider turret, on a weird off angle as well, they have to turn and go and put your attention to. It just makes everything with these engages so awkward for the goats that they really weren't able to find any momentum, and it slowed it down enough for the Pacers to take advantage. But like you said, WPI know they have map pick advantage, at least for this map. So we'll have to see where they want to go. Obviously, I think we got hybrid left, and escort. So some sort of payload that we will be seeing, but I wonder if they just go King's Row, be like, hey, we're just going to run it back with the Zarya Reaper. Unless one of those gets banned, you ban out the Torb, so you know that you don't have to worry about that. There are some killer spider turret spots on King's Row as well. So I can see maybe a Torb ban followed by a... I don't know really for Merrywood, because we've tried to guess what their bans are all night, and I don't think we've got one right so far. So I'm not even gonna try.
I think we have better chances winning the lottery, honestly, at this point. But watch Gibraltar, Jesse. This is just going to be whatever we say, the opposite's going to happen kind of night. Cool.
Or just a delayed reaction, right? We were saying it for like maps 2 and 3, now we get it for map 4.
Yeah, we got to get it. And then this tells me that they want the Tracer to be back for sure. It's ideally some sort of dive, whether that's going to be the Hazard, Winston, or I guess Wrecking Ball too, if you want to do that. I'm guessing Hazard, just because we've seen that already, but it's just, we're going to find out when it happens. These hero bans, though, are going to be key. I don't think it's impossible to run a Torb Cassidy on this point, but you're going to forfeit a ton of space to something like a Tracer or Genji, where this map just becomes their playground if it isn't taken care of.
There it
and of
is.
course, all right, we are going to get the Torbjorn ban. We got something correct. The Kiriko on the other end will be removed from both Elias and Cell.
So I wonder with the Kiriko if that ban points us to we're going to run Brigana, right? We're going to go back to the old school watch point comp. And whether it be a Winston or a Hazard, Diva, whatever you're more comfortable with, pair that with the Brigana, and then, some combination of Tracer, Genji. And for Merrywood, I wouldn't blame them if they ran Cassidy because of how well it at least worked over on Suravaso. But, the Torb ban, you could tell, okay, that needs to go. Like, we need our Tracer to get back into the fray a little bit, and that Torb ban is going to allow just that.
I was
or
curious
so we thought, at least.
Maybe. I mean, that's what I was wondering, because Maynard was also the Tracer player when we have seen that happen, as well as the Cassidy. So I wonder if it's just not something Downpour particularly likes, or they just prefer the double range on this map. It's not a very common thing. The only reason I'm going to say this might be okay is if the GOATs opt to match them in it. Or we get a pause, and we never find out.
We haven't had a pause tonight, and usually we get at least one pretty early, so not a complete shock that we finally got one here in map 4. But you're right, we don't normally see this double hit skin look. It can theoretically work, but we almost always see a Tracer or a Genji, especially on attack, just to kind of usher the cart along when the rest of the team is trying to take high ground control. So now you wonder if, is it just going to be one of the hit scans staying on low ground? Are we just going to see Elias as the Zen stay on point, that can be a risky game because, hey, what if Faintus dives you? You really have no answer to that. So we'll have to wait and see how the GOATs want to address that, as they will stick it.
Yeah, that and the fun hat that Elias is wearing on the Zenyatta. I've never seen that before, and I might need to get this skin next time I do. But this Sigma's weird. I was going to question, how are you going to push the payload in this scene? Skrulls is just going to have to sit there, and you get Faintus out of mech that early.
Wow.
That's a problem. That is a massive problem for Marywood, because they had, like, infinite advantages coming into this comp.
Yeah, you can't let that happen. I'm not gonna lie. You cannot let that happen if you are Marywood. That gives up so much free space for WPI to take over. They don't even really need to fight for high ground control too much. Everyone has to back up because it's your tank of all players who goes down during that scenario. So now, yes, the Diva is back, but you already gave up 47 meters and a lot of high ground control, and that is such a good pixel peek from Squeaker.
And that's all it takes. It's just that one shot. And all the meanwhile, getting pressured by Faintus to, yet again, knocked out of mech and turns the sights of these three players who are bunkering down in the server room. 5 HP on Squeaker. Woo! Got a little dicey. The GOATs haven't been able to move this payload. Even with the tank presence being down, now they're going to start moving on it, and Skrulls exactly where he wants to be. Double kill for him, and yeah, this is a very untraditional approach to Gibraltar, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, we've been seeing some unconventional looks recently. We've seen some collegiate teams, they're running the hog on this map all the way through, which, you know, that's just its own kind of weird situation. But they know the Sigma's working out so far for WPI. A little bit of a recontest here from Marywood, but no, it's not like it's going to do much. Point gets capped, and it'll be over 4.5 minutes for the GOATs to Squeaker. Already by ship, trying to gain control as both supports for the Pacers are eliminated.
Squeaker getting this space early is a problem. It's going to be hard to contest him. Granted, he doesn't really have much support that can come in, but look at the pressure he's already putting on the doorway.
Yeah, just trying to send those alternate fires in. You can see Faintus, as soon as they get up there, they're what, maybe 200 HP remaining? And because of how late those staggers were, this card's almost at the end of second phase.
But you do end up losing Skrulls. That's kind of the disadvantage of having the Wuyong Zen. Not a ton of burst healing, so left out to dry. Just end up using a Transcendence to keep him afloat and put some pressure on this separated Maynard. That was Marywood's fight to win. They just did a banana split, and Squeaker and Shadowbone pop the rolls, get one apiece, and suddenly we are looking at a 5-minute time bank with just third point remaining.
Yeah, this is arguably the phase of the map that's strongest for WPI, right? You can really just take advantage of the full range. That's why you see Faintus, they'll just swap it. They're going to give up on this dive because they recognize it has not worked. But I think almost at this point it's too late. Yes, there's only one ultimate here for WPI, but Marywood has not shown any way of stopping this.
Not at all. You do lose Blue Cone and Elias. Down for main Nana. Did pull a tag team on that without supports. WPI starting to hit the panic button. Like, we probably shouldn't be here anymore. Squeaker doesn't seem to care about that, though. Nobody dares to go near this Freya, even without the chance of healing.
Yeah, but look at that. As soon as you have Maynard try and jump up there, Squeaker lanes an alternate shot, and they have to back up. And with Vertrix dead, Cell is forced to pop the rally just to keep Faintus up.
They're just chilling in the main front line there, and they do lose like, they're so focused on Squeaker right now. Shadowbow is getting no attention, and WPI happy to work with it. Even cancels out that Dragon Blade with the help of a bolt attached to him. And oh no, Marywood Green, they've been playing Mystery Heroes for the majority of this point. They couldn't get their resources up, and yeah, WPI taking the poke game to Watch Point Gibraltar. That's a near 4-minute time bank with full completion.
Yeah, this is rough for Marywood. Because not only do they have to cap on a map that historically is on the more difficult side, even if they do potentially up to like a 4-minute time bank advantage for WPI, which on a map like this, it's just killer. So Marywood, for them to have a decent shot in overtime, assuming they cap all the way through, you'd want them to get it to 2 minutes, I'd say. And even then, you kind of stretching it a little bit. It's still going to be pretty difficult. You need to have an insane push here from the Pacers. And yeah, the GOATs, no reason to change anything up, right? You're going to keep this long range going because it's Marywood who will have to challenge you now on that high ground unless they find some sort of early opportunity like the GOATs did.
That was a Marywood made a whoopsie, not necessarily WPI did something like mind-blowing in that instance. A lot of Watchpoint Gibraltar of what we see is this mind game of positioning for the first couple of points, especially on first. It's a balance of contesting the payload and running to this high ground. And with these poke compositions, you don't have the ability to go back and forth between both. So if WPI either get forced away here by Faintest attempting this Winston again, I'd say that could change. Shadowbow and Squeaker, one of many spots to set up.
Yeah, let's see how Mary would want to approach this, because it'll have to be a pretty well-timed attack from Faintest and Mayna in the face of WPI, and then some nicely placed shots from Downpour to make it all work, but Downpour already has to abandon their high ground as they get hit with the Discord orb, and that'll be trouble, but they get Elias.
There we go. That's that well-timed dive we were talking about. It's been a struggle to find that coordination so far, but a classic 3-2-1 and stomp on the Zen's head. We'll go ahead and do it. I like the instant brink swap. Elias knows that's a problem.
Yeah, Elias like, hey, the Zen was fun, but something's got to give. And that not only allows them to stay alive a little bit longer, but will help Platoon as well. So the cart, yes, gets most of the way through Arch, but now you have to win that whole nother fight here if you're the Pacers, as they've at least gained that initial high ground control, but getting this back high ground, a little more testy.
The two banana boats, though. Vertrex can ideally put that onto Faintest or Maynut if you want to be kind of cool with that. But yeah, it will be onto Faintest, the much safer option in that. We'll follow up on from Maynut too. I mean, we're starting to see the synergy from Marywood's dive heroes unfold. That's what you're gonna need to do to dislodge what has been the solid GOATS comp so far. But not actually GOATS. This they're heroes. Not to confuse anybody from the olden days. Elias though manages to squish the Cell's face in with a whip shot. Bob is still gonna go out for Shadowbow. This is very much a winnable or already won fight. So Marywood will have to take the Esker resource and reset.
I was like, please don't bring back GOATS comps. Like I didn't mind it, but I think we're a little past this. I think some players don't even realize what GOATS is, and I think that's when you can tell, like, oh, we're old. Like, we are...
I mean, I wasn't around for GOATS comp, so I think you're old.
Okay, well, I'm old then. Man, I just exposed myself, didn't I?
Look at that.
2 minutes to go. And with the time bank needed for them to have a decent chance in overtime, they need that kind of opener.
That's who like Shadowbow. Dave himself headshot there to start that off, and the Gravitic Flux gets a whole lot of nothing. Not a great start for the GOATS, and you can already tell the panic is setting in. The whip shot helps delay Faintest, but it's not going to do much to deter that overall. Squeaker inevitably sliced to bits due to Maynut's Dragon Blade, and Faintest putting Elias through the blender. Dive comp starting to come alive as the extra pieces the composition. Did end up putting the Tidal Blast onto Scrolls at the last second. Will just be an ultimate going down the drain and a first point capture for Marywood.
Still 3.5 minutes to go. Not too shabby here for the Pacers. It's enough to work with for them to have a decent time bank later on. Because also for the GOATs, they used a lot during that last fight. So Marywood still have the ultimate advantage going into the second phase. They have Rally to work with very early on just to keep everyone up nice and tidy, and already have complete ship control as Squeaker. Yes, you can fire all those alternate shots you want, but without a dive tank, it's going to be a real challenge.
Oh, well, that doesn't really change the matter for Downpour. Nice shot from Squeaker to regain control. He said, this is my ship, mine, you see? Just going to put his name on it. And apparently, Vertrex, but actually survives with like a sliver of HP there. Cell can't quite say the same for no shield. And Squeaker's just in the back line with no team around him, by the way. He's just kind of vibing while this payload continues to push.
This payload continues to move on, and as much as, you know, the chaos from Squeaker has been working, well, that time the final shot lands, and now they're going in for the... That's just a little rude. Elimination from the long-range shot from Scrolls will finish it. And, yeah, the swap eventually off the Sigma does come in. Scrolls will match Faintest on the Winston. That'll help a little bit with the ship control as Marywood forced to reset. Still got both support officers. Molly, I don't really see a way now that they can go in here easily because, yes, it was the fact that there was no dive tank, but now you have a Winston you have to deal with.
Well, hey, I was gonna say the same thing I said before. Nano boost. Vertrex can help Faintest win this now like counter dive situation we're gonna be going into. Who can get the better trades? Although it doesn't come out immediately. You want to get Faintest in a good position first before you put the nano onto him. This is a flank though, by the way, into the back line from both Squeaker and Shadowbow, and it's a 2-for-2 trade. But there's no supports available for Marywood, and with how low Faintest and Downpour already are, one of their best jobs to get all set up, get the positioning that they want, is pretty much gone. Primal Rage though still popped by Faintest. Sees this as a winnable situation, and granted Shadowbow, not a ton of HP to work with, and it's gonna help hold these doors. You just don't have anybody to push the payload with it. As the Polish, is that the Polish shot that I just saw come out too? Okay.
Yeah, Squeaker felt maybe a little disrespected by that. Like, oh, you're really gonna Primal me? Come on now. Let's back off a little bit. 1 minute remaining here for Marywood. As yes, they use the nano. They get a lot of space from it, but they just can't find the finishing touches on the fight to earn second phase. But now Polish shot comes in from Downpour, damages the back line, but no kills.
Sleepy time for Scrolls, but brutally awakened by Faintest returning to assist the team. And there's the returning Primal Rage. Vertex smacked around a little bit and jumped back to the payload to look for more. 30 seconds left to go, and with Marywood down their 2 key components to keep a fight going, you need to reset as fast as possible. Wait, a what?
Okay, well that's maybe a little bit of a mistake from the Goats, which could open it up. Yes, you're going to lose Downpour late in that fight if you're the Pacers, but you'd much rather have your Winston than be without your Freya. So now they can just go into this fight very easily, and I think the nano missed.
It goes onto Squeaker out of all people, but it's covering fire. Covering fire at the end of the day forces the payload, and WPI Goats lock in their spot as their Division 4 East 1 Conference #1 seed. Wow, that was a mouthful, but yeah, the Goats deserve it. Undefeated in the regular season.
Yeah, undefeated, another 3-1 to end it here, and yeah, they will be one of the teams to watch out for here in Division 4. Squeaker, after pretty quiet map 1 due to the Tracer being banned, absolutely pops off the rest of the way on the Tracer and the Freya to lead them to the win. But like you said, #1 seed potentially secured. I haven't looked yet at the other divisions, other groups in this division, so maybe on tiebreakers they may not get the 1 seed, but they could still get one of the top seeds going into playoffs, and they'll definitely be one to watch out for. I think honestly, for Marywood, some decent notes, and I feel like if these teams play again, there are some things I bet they would do differently, right? I don't think they go to New Queen Street like they did in map 2. But there was definitely some nice signs there, and Survasa was dominant from them. Their JQ looked fantastic. So maybe just cleaning up a few things here for the Pacers, and we could easily be seeing them on a run in the Div 4 playoffs.
The Pacers just had to take time to experiment before they found something that worked. It was just unfortunate it was in map 3, and you couldn't have any other chance to put it further. You were already down 2. You don't have the maps or bans at your favor. And I do think at the end of the day, this was a very one-sided series for most of it. Especially whenever we got to see WPI play what they wanted to on multiple fronts, by the way. Had a lot of solid looks and compositions. I'm usually one of the people to say that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But they took a lot of time to fix it and try different things that you really didn't need to. You had one composition that could work, but they did showcase their flexibility, and they are a multi-front threat to this Overwatch Division 4.
Yeah, no, everywhere you look on this team, whether it be the tank or the DPS line, and yes, we didn't talk about the supports a lot because usually when we talk about supports, it's either great pop-offs or mistakes. And they more just set up the great pop-offs. They didn't necessarily have them themselves, and that's okay in a team like this. They put the DPS and the tank in a position to make these ridiculous plays. So, no, definitely everybody all around from WPI showing out tonight and showing off why they're undefeated here in the regular season.
WPI WPI should be very proud of what they
Yeah.
have accomplished this season. They get to move on to the playoffs, and I have a feeling they're feeling pretty confident about it. There isn't going to be a major patch for at least a little bit, so you have time to kind of run with what you've found success in so far, whether it's that Zarya Reaper, leaning into this Freya that we've seen. Squeaker has been a standout player throughout the night that really can't be countered. He's got options. It was actually quite a change from Tracer to Torb to Freya. I think that covers the spectrum of DPS there, if you want to look at it that way. But yeah, the WPI GOATs have a lot ahead of them throughout this offseason, and it would definitely be a treat if they got to meet Merrywood again later.
Oh, 1,000%. You know what? A beautiful treat that you can get tonight. When we're waiting here in this break, we got obviously a little bit of break between games, but our wonderful friends over at Wenzel's Farm got some beautiful and tasty meat sticks that you can get made in Wisconsin. Goes great with gaming, watch partying, whatever you want to do here this collegiate fall season. Wenzel's Farm, legendary Wisconsin meat since 1977. 14 mouthwatering flavors. Get your heart out and try out some from Wenzel's Farm. And obviously, as the resident Wisconsin native here, and, a little bit of bonus points for myself. They're very good, so go check them out.
Number one faster, and from their home state as well.
Yeah.
Like you sell it, and yeah, you got to make sure you got to support our fan sponsors, because that is what helps NECC support itself too. And it's great quality meat sticks if you really like those, which I know both of us do enjoy. But you have plenty of time to go ahead and check that out, as we will be heading for a bit of an elongated break, almost an hour before we head into our next match. It will be Northern Arizona University versus UCSB. So we'll go ahead, throw it on that, check out Wenzel's Farm, and we'll see you for some Division 3 Overwatch.
All I seek to find is a world that's mine. Need a place to hide. Will you free my mind? Following the lights of a world that's blind. In your You. This not right. You.
to you.
only stumbled over diamonds, and I no longer fear the worst.
frozen over like I am. Well, I know you know that like it's colder, colder when I'm older, older than I am. And I know you know that I have lost composure, but I'll hold you closer while I can. I never told you that I'm slightly broken, that I might lose focus when I am. I know you know that life gets colder, colder when you're frozen over like I am. Again, why does it feel so hard to breathe? Why does it feel so hard to breathe? So hard to breathe. Never found, but these voices bring me to my knees. Again, why do you waste your light on me?
NECC Overwatch of what will be the last streamed match of the regular season. It's like, it's bittersweet, Jesse, because we want it to go on forever. It's great when it does, but also playoffs are almost here. We kind of want to jump into those since they're pretty darn exciting. And our next match that we are going to have on stream, both of our teams, again, already qualified for playoffs, both looking for a chance to adjust the seeding.
Yeah, looking for a way up, especially this group in Division 3, super chaotic in the top four is UC Santa Barbara and Northern Arizona, both looking to push their way up. This has just been a super chaotic grouping, and you and I were talking about it right before we went live. Some extended series are quite often in this group as well.
Yeah, out of the 5 matches that Northern Arizona have played, their wins specifically have come on game 5s 3 out of 4 times. And 4 out of their 5 matches they've played have gone to game 5. So we might be in for quite a series today. They like to draw it out. They like to keep it entertaining. So I'm here for it. I'm interested to see how this goes. It could be long. But on paper, I think UCSB are coming into this with a hefty advantage. They've won against all the teams Northern Arizona has lost to pretty heavily, except for the current number 1 seed. And overall, I think UCSB has had like a bit of a longer time to get ready for this. I think that they're a team I feel like that's been consistently at this level where we're starting to see Northern Arizona on their punch-up rise.
Yeah, NAU, this is kind of a little bit of recent rise. They weren't fantastic in the years prior. Like, they were always around and decent, but now here in D3, and especially, showing out so far 4-2. And like I said, a whole lot of game 5s thrown into the mix there as well for the Lumberjacks. They've been doing quite well for themselves. And I would say for the West Coast in general, West Coast Overwatch and Collegiate has really taken a step up this last year or so. It feels like for a long time, it was kind of just Boise State, right? And UCI, right? They were kind of the only 2 big teams out on the West Coast. And now we're seeing way more over these last few years, whether it be, Utah, ASU, CSU will be a whole lot of California teams are entering the mix now. And NAU also entering the mix in Arizona. So, it's nice to have a little bit of a West Coast showcase here as that region's really been catching up.
It had, like, for the longest time, and even if you look at a map of, like, where esports programs are located, it's heavily concentrated on the east coast of the U.S., and it just slowly, like, gets less and more sporadic, and it's just kind of how it goes. But seeing these programs start to pop off and make these runs in, and get to these higher divisions, too, is fantastic to see. We do have our first map in while we're talking about all of that. It will be Ilios to go off of. It tells us we like dive compositions here in our NECC game. It's what you're going to pick if you like dive, other than like a League of Jong Tower.
Yeah, a whole lot of dive here on Ilios, and a whole lot of boot potential, whether it be a Wrecking Ball, a Lucio, even a Doomfist can get thrown into the mix. So we'll see if any of those are banned. We've seen a lot of Lucio bans as of late for Control.
Yeah.
We'll see if either team want to go that same direction again here in Greece. But no, I think this first map, just kind of get your bearings down. Obviously, these teams have been waiting for a little bit. No Lucio ban. It's actually the Reaper. Maybe they watched the last series like, we can't let this happen again. So Reaper ban from UCSB. It'll be the Winston ban from NAU. So that either tells me they want to concentrate on dive, either like a Diva or a Wrecking Ball instead of that traditional Winston. Maybe even a Hazard that we've seen a lot more thrown in the mix as well.
Hazard seems a lot more likely, I think, with Reaper taken off the table, too. That can be a real pain to have to go against with, especially since you can only block from one direction, and you can be a bit of a sitting duck if you're not careful on this particular map. So I think something along those lines would make a lot of sense. And we didn't get any support bans either. So that's the other thing I want to see. Are they going to lock into more of this Lucio Kiriko, where there's more participation in the actual front-facing part of this dive? Or is it going to be more of that Wuyong Kiri that we've been seeing more as of late? Because the Wuyong is mobile, but can provide this insane amount of poke damage.
Yeah, the damage, even though, yes, he got nerfed a little bit. It wasn't anything crazy. he's still super good, right? Like, he is unbelievably good. The damage output, it almost feels like you're playing Zen, but with way more consistent healing. And I won't lie, the shooting mechanic with the orbs is so fun. Like, the dev team nailed it. You can just whip those orbs around corners, and you can't expect it if you're on the other side. But no, I have a feeling we'll see a lot more of the Wu Yang Kiri, except maybe on Well. Everybody loves trying to get the boops, right? Like, it's kind of just in our veins as Overwatch players, like, especially support players like myself. It's like, we want the boops, right? We want to get that high impact play. But we'll see if either team actually decide to do that, as we're loading in now to Ilios. It will actually be Well for our first round of the day. So we'll get a nice little early look on what teams are feeling.
Yeah, this will be a fun one. I think that if we see this particular map, we're expecting like this very much high presence, focus on the environmentals of playing around the well, but side control of the side lanes is huge here. So like this Tracer, this Freya, very standard to what we're seeing, especially like the highest levels of gameplay. Textbook UCSB right now. Northern Arizona are going for a bit of a different approach. They have an Orisa, a Venture, a Cast. They want to play very frontline heavy and rush at this backline if they get caught out.
Yeah, and for Kai, I think once they see what NAU is running, it is just going to be a test of how much impact can they actually have before the counter push comes in, because it'll only take one little push from Marmello or a flash or a jab to really make it difficult for Kai.
Oh, it's already difficult
Like,
for
there
Kai.
it
That's
is.
a died on the wall and just off the map. Okay, that was we bully Kai day. Kai is gone. No tank for UCSB, and kind of not gonna be a problem cleaning up the rest of the people.
Yeah, very easy cleanup for NAU as they'll win the first fight. Kind of surprised Kai's sticking on this, I won't lie, considering the guy has got bullied during that first fight. Tried to jump in, gets jabbed, tries to spike guard, gets jabbed. There's a whole lot of jabs in the face of Kai. But the Lumberjacks, they will just try and hold up close. They don't want Kai to get any sort of dive angle. Everybody for NAU playing super compact so far.
Yeah, and the only way you break through this is if you can set off these pinches, right? We saw Sheer on the high ground just now, trying to poke, draw some attention, and it does that. I'm sure Rook, very low, does have to give a little bit of ground on the choke. Cactus from Kai, attempting to throw some people off. It does get Neon chunked, but yeah, there we go. That's the opening that you're looking for. Kai will manage to withstand the storm that time. Both DPS have been taken care of for Northern Arizona. It just took a while for them to actually break through while the DPS got in position.
Yeah, it just took a little bit of time, and Sheer is going to be one we'll have to watch, because that was a great little off angle. Even if it didn't get a ton of damage right away, it just drew enough attention where it actually let Kai get into a decent spot to have a lot of high impact. And what a beautiful cactus throw into the elimination from Hydro. And that Cassidy, as soon as they get back into this fight, gets sent right back to spawn.
That's just we're gonna chill out, wait for a cast. Kai is trying to force some sort of elim here. All you get is the burrow from Marmello and the Kitsune rush from UCSB. Use and the faces of their opponents. Northern Arizona, they're just gonna back off. They have the ability to respect it. It'll be a downpour, but it looks like it ended up catching everybody. Brought their umbrellas for that storm, but it did separate onshore Rook from the rest of the team. Without a tank here, it's so difficult to weather this damage that we see C6 pumping in on the Freya.
Yeah, the Freya, just so much damage in quick succession. As well, A, I love the skin, but B, for C6, just, again, that kind of little, just quick second and a half play, it just nails onshore so low where they have to play super conservative.
Oh,
hey,
no!
well, that was unfortunate.
That's a bit of counter synergy there. Bullet shot blocked by Kai's Cactus. Not gonna like that one, but let's see if they're able to make anything of it. The sound barrier got knocked out in its last couple of frames, and yeah, those are the supports. Yoinked out from underneath UCSB. That's a quick reset there, and I'm sure UCSB are kicking themselves for it.
Yeah, probably kicking themselves a little bit, as that seemed like it was a one fight early for NAU, and then it looked like maybe the Gauchos had a chance to bring it back, but NAU able to close it down. Now 60% counting for the Lumberjacks. Deadeye available here for Kainem, and Kainen, we typically don't see it get a whole lot other than delaying time, but we saw in the last series occasionally, if you don't respect it, still can get an elimination here and there.
Oh, but Marmello gonna take things into his own hands, apparently. Has a butt disruption on the high ground, and the Lucio's gone for UCSB, and because of how little percent is, it's just gonna be a full reset.
Yeah, full reset. They want to make sure they have one more full go at this and not just a kind of delayed entry.
No way.
Wow. Oh, well, I guess it's just the day for Deadeyes. I guess.
You called it as it is. The ultimate that's getting value that probably shouldn't. Onshore Rogue, though, had a little bit of a parting gift from Sheer and pulse bombs up to the face. Will be Kitsune Rush from either side, but 99% for NAU Varsity means UCSB have to close this out. But losing Sheer early on, the chances slowly diminishing. Onshore Rook will be back shortly. If they can't clean this fight up fast, it's not looking good. With Kai going down, NAU Varsity, they're just going to end it right here and right now, denying a flip altogether. Only this Lucio being a pest, but Stanley did all that he could. NAU grabbing the well.
NAU win well. Now looking to see if they can win map 1 against one of the top seeds here right now. We look at I'm looking at the standings quick. One of 3 teams tied at 5-1 is Santa Barbara with UCSB B team and Puma Esports. NAU just on the outside looking in, but if you look at a little bit of a scoreboard update here, Marmello 12 eliminations for them. They're leading the lobby, 10 as well for kind of the DPS, working wonders here for NAU. But honestly, for them, if, you know, let's say they win this and maybe a few results go their way, they can jump from 4th to, you know, 2nd, maybe even 1st in the standings. So whole lot to play for them. And obviously for Santa Barbara, they're just hoping Puma or UCSC B team, they lose so they can continue to stay in the top 2. But that'll be a little bit of a different look here for NAU. Obviously, the Ressa maybe not as desirable here on Lighthouse, so it'll be the debuff.
You need some sort of ability to contest high ground, and Onshore Rook can do that much easier with that current tank pick. And Kai goes in and just gets the whole kitchen sink dumped on him. Will have the Cactus to zone it off, but also zones himself. The point will be capped. Susie is forced. You can tell that UCSB want to force this, but it's all this damage that's being focused onto Kai. All the meanwhile, you lose out on Stanley. You don't have enough support to keep this Hazard as healthy as you would like to keep pushing, and that's where the poke comes in. Couple for C6, landed these bolt shots, and eventually we'll see Northern Arizona move away from this objective. Kainan yet again finds the Cactus there, and Kai healed just enough to contest the Diva.
Yeah, just very slow and steady there for UCSB, but they eventually break through. 33% for NAU, and very similar actually to well in how it started, right? NAU capped first, but UCSB are able to win the overall fights. They're able to find the flip, and now it's up to the Gachos to hold on, as they already built a few ultimates, both DPS ults, as well as the Kitsune Rush from Hydro. And again, beautiful Cactus knocks Kainen down.
Able to get over to the Mega Health Pack with support, so it's okay. In fact, it's great. You lose out on Sheer, and the point just gets flipped because Kai is so focused on where the rest of the team is, ignored the objective entirely. So NAU, they want to make this fight last. It'll be a later Kitsune Rush from Squid in response, and the boop! Kai gets back onto land, but sent down 6 feet under shortly afterwards. And NAU, they're just dumping everything that they have into this particular fight. They already have the control. It's bonus points if you win. But no way! Onshore Rook, how in the world do you fall off from that?
I'm guessing it's a boop that maybe didn't register all the way.
Okay, that would make sense.
That's my guess. Maybe just, yeah, the score bug, a little funky on that interaction, but no. Beautiful boop, assumingly there from Stanley, allows the flip back over to UCSB very quickly. Now Sheer has the pulse bomb, waiting for somebody, probably Kainen with his pulse.
Oh, no Deadeye Elon this time, but you get it onto Sheer. Thought he was sneaky, but Kainen said, no you don't. Sound barriers on either side, but Eon's being a little later puts NAU in a better position. Unless her name's Kainen, very low, no support to come through it. At least gets one as a little bit of a parting kill. But Northern Arizona University, they've managed to get themselves over 72%, Jesse, from fights that either they have lost or are about to lose. That is absolutely ridiculous. They know what is important in this round, and honestly, it's going to set them up for a final fight territory despite not winning a battle yet.
Yeah, they've just been playing the objective perfectly. Also, if you want to learn how to stall, like if you're wanting to play more, that is a perfect stall. Like everybody rotating in and out of point, they get an extra 10, 15% on that alone. And they probably earned another 10% earlier as well off these just slow and steady delays on the points. So NAU playing that perfectly, but if you're looking at for the gachos, they didn't really commit a whole lot to that molly, so they still have 3 ultimates to work with.
Burrow's already out of the venture, and Hydra already has yet another Kitsune Rush to put down early. There are many attempts to zone it with these plethora of ult that is just dumped onto NAU. You would think that'd be enough, right? No. Kainan is alive, Kai is taking a beating, and NAU Varsity, I was about to say, you haven't won a fight on this map yet, you're still at 93%, but you got to get to win in order to close out the map.
Yeah, they find the fight win that they desperately needed, and nobody even remotely close there for UCSB as NAU, they'll take Ilios in a 2-0.
Here's the thing, Jesse, I really want to see the stat line after this game, because this, I guarantee you, NAU had less elos overall from that, because they weren't winning fights. They were just playing the objective. They were playing to the win condition of the actual map. It's not flashy, sure, but it's what got you there at the end of the day. And honestly, some just crazy plays overall by making that decision. Even if you don't close it out, you got so close to it that by the point the UCSB realized, oh shoot, it's final fight territory. We have all of our ults to use. What was that, like a 4-to-1 ult ratio at the end of that? And they ended. That was the fight that they happened to win too. Like, this is just defying reality as far as I'm concerned. And there's some serious NAU magic that I'm sure we're going to start seeing more of.
Yeah, as soon as you realize, like, hey, we have 3 ultimates, I think, yeah, like you said, I think they built the 4th right as that fight was starting. NAU just punched back very quickly. They used the Kitsune Rush early. They don't allow UCSB to really set up with any of those ults that they had going in with the advantage. And NAU take full advantage of that and win Ilios 2-0. And like you said, it's not like they dominated the map. It really didn't feel like it. They just took advantage and they played the objective perfectly. And that'll have to be something that UCSB, they have to pay attention to now the rest of this series. Because especially, you know, once we get to push, once we get to flashpoint, those can be very simple mistakes that can have a massive impact on those map types as well.
And it's that type of game knowledge, too, that Northern Arizona University, they're getting more than they have. They're winning fights while losing them. And it's such an interesting approach to the game. But I'm also starting to see why that even in these really hard matches that they've had at other points in their season, how they're managing to get to 5 games, more than half of the series that they've played throughout the year.
Yeah, no, it makes sense because, you know, sometimes you can play the objective and it goes really well and you obviously can win maps like that, but sometimes even though, yes, you win the objectives and you play around that, doesn't necessarily mean you win the map still, right? If a team plays it well enough, they're still going to, you know, be able to defy that and win the map. So that'll be something now for the Gachos gotta look out for here in the rest of the series. I'm not even sure if it was, like, sometimes once we get done with a 2-0 on a control, like, oh, we want to, the team that lost, they should want to deny this kind of comp, so they're wanting to either go to this certain map with this kind of band to play with it. I don't even feel like it was that much of a comp difference. Like, I felt like the Hazard was okay. I just felt like, especially there at Lighthouse, the way that NAU held, that Hazard comp was just doomed to kind of fail because everybody was in Lighthouse. There was nobody that was kind of straggling along. And yes, there were still some great impact plays from the Hazard. It wasn't enough to really win a fight back to back.
It was the difference of the team play, right? In the calls that you're making. It does have to do with more of the actual compositions themselves, but yeah, it will be one of those things that we are going to have to watch going through the rest of this series, since it's not normal, right? Northern Arizona University are exploiting what is a big mistake from teams, and it's not something that you often talk about or teach, because if you're winning the fight, more often than not, you're gonna win the map. So everybody puts emphasis on it, and it can work. But because the fights are getting dragged on as long as they are, because of how rock solid of a team presence that specific Orisa comp has, it's been difficult to dislodge. Now, something like Rialto, you're not really gonna be able to do the same thing on. This is gonna be more highlighting those actual fights that we were talking about, but I am wanting to see some changes to the staging process and these chokeholds for UCSB heading into this game.
Yeah, especially here on first phase, right? Like, you can hold down first phase for a long time as the bands go through. It'll be the Diva first from UCSB, so obviously they saw near the end the Diva was fantastic for NAU, so you take that away. The Freya was one of the bright spots for the gachos, so NAU, especially on a super long range map like this, you got a lot of long alleyways. It is nice for them to take away the Freya and deny some of that instant pop that you could have with some of these Freya comps.
And that ban also does two things. Is not only it denies C6 of their Freya, which did look very good, but it also enables you to keep playing this cast that Kainan was on. Sheer just wasn't having a good time with that Hinder nade whatsoever, and it had so much impact on the game, despite being often a rather tricky pick to play into a dive composition because you're very immobile in a lot of ways. Freya can counter that, and I think NAU varsity recognized it, so they're going to make that change. UCSB Gold, though, they want to stick for their guns, at least in terms of the hazard. Everything else around it's going to change.
Yeah, so the hazard will stay, but like you said, now is C6 with the Freya gone. Next best thing is the Sojourn. Still very consistent damage at long range. The Disruptor shot as well. When you're going against, this Venture Orisa potentially, going to really slow them down, make them pick different alleyways to push on through. So I do like this overall. I think the Ana is an interesting choice. We don't see Ana a ton right now, but if you're trying to play a little bit more of the long range, at least with the supports, Hydro can stay at range while still healing Kai and Sheer up when they try and get up close and personal with the NAU backline.
You're not really I don't think you're as concerned about playing the Ana since NAU hasn't run any dives so far. The Widowmaker, on the other hand, that could be a little sketchy if you're not playing careful, or if Marmello just happens to get a little bit too close on the Rock Muncher. Though it is NAU doing what they do best. It's force this payload, buy as much time and space as they can, and force UCSB to come to them.
Yeah, so far this Widow from Kainan not really doing a whole lot. Sheer forces them away, no eliminations to come from it, and Onshore just has to kind of have a soft reset. They get down to 150 health or so, and they can't hold the line as much. And this is the first corner that you really want to hold here if you are the Gachos. And now the Orisa flanks all the way around to put pressure on the Kai.
It's starting to look a little sketchy there, but eventually that first pick will come through. C6 charge rail shot to the dome of the tank. So NAU varsity lost all that tank presence they were banking on. We'll just have to fully back up.
Yeah, so full reset coming in now for NAU as it'll still be Marmello's kind of stuck here, but no, with the health back and the assistance of Neon, they'll be able to get out for now. Kind of taking super aggressive angles on this Widow. It hasn't necessarily worked yet, but only time will tell.
A couple of these shots have been close, but yeah, no. Kainan poked his head out just a little too far there, and yeah, Kai is there to match it. Couple of trades going back and forth, each team lacking in a support, but yeah, Onshore Rook so incredibly low without the Kiriko, having only Neon to heal as a Lucio. And about half the time bank already gone. Marmello, not even a reset, actually ends up getting the Elim onto Hydro before going down.
Yeah, finding Hydro, and already half the time bank's gone, Molly. Just like that, and so far this map pick has worked wonderfully for UCSB Gold. NAU has not found any answer so far on how to burst through, but now some of these ultimates are getting online.
NAU, they're banking on a sound barrier right now, either to be aggressive or to counter like all three ults that UCSB have. Will be the downpour first, and that's actually where the trigger's gonna be cold. Despite nobody getting caught out by it, it is enough for Marmello to get aggressive, but it just doesn't do anything about the other ults that were coming out. Shearer grabs a couple on that Dragon Blade, and I just think Neon jumped the gun on that ult, considering everything else that was up.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a little bit of a panic. Like, oh no, downpour went down. They're thinking Kynan was going to get hit. In reality, the Soj was able to jump out of the way, so maybe didn't need the sound barrier. And that was an expensive loss for NAU. 3 ultimates gone compared to the only 2 from UCSB. And now Kitsune Rush and Overclock still available here for UCSB.
Yeah, it's feeling pretty good if you're UCSB right now. The overclock is out, but it will be the Terra Search to pull C6 in and shut them down, so there's not too much concern in that. But, I mean, Kai, everybody tried to chase him, but he gets so much support to his back, and now everyone just collapsing in on the couple remaining players attempting to force point.
30 seconds left. Only 1 fight left here for the Lumberjacks to cap point A and continue on, but it's looking rough. 0 ultimates to work with. They'll match the hazard. Kynan will go over to the soldier as well for a little bit more speed on range, but the Nano is going to, assumingly going on to Sheer or Kai early in this fight for the Gachos, as well as the Kitsune Rush. NAU, they got to pull some sort of miracle in an early pick.
Pulling something out of thin air is what you gotta do, but between Nano Boost, Kitsune Rush, it's just not gonna happen. C6 fired up and ready to go, plus some. That's a double kill for them, and looking for even more as that downpour will come online and secure the last couple of eliminations, and a complete turnaround from map number 1 at a full hold.
Yeah, full hold for UCSB as NAU not able to find the same type of magic that they did over on map 1. And you know, we were wondering how much impact this Diva ban was going to have, and it seems like it's kind of messed up the pacing a little bit. That NAU like to play at is, you know, they like, you know, spreading these fights out a little bit, getting scrappy. That's how they won. Ilios is just playing in the chaos. They haven't really had that. UCSB has really controlled the tempo and where these fights are happening. And the Gachos have taken full advantage. You know, Kai didn't even die during the entirety of that for a tank that is quite rare on this map. 16-3-0, 4.5k damage for the Haz, and now NAU on the defense. They'll start on the Haz early on, and I'm kind of surprised we actually did not see the Wuyong more. This is a map that can be very good for the Wuyong. A lot of long sight lines, but it's with Squid actually on the Baptiste. We haven't really seen a whole lot during this meta.
That scares me a lot more. Like, the reason I was okay with something like the Ana is we're not seeing a ton of dive from NAU. The BAP is going into a Genji, a Hazard, potentially even a Kiriko that will chase you. That's a little sketchy in my eyes here. For NAU, you need something to be able to have high ground presence. Kynan going over to this Cassidy at this point, I think makes me feel a lot better given how the round 1 turned out.
Yeah, I think that's a nice place to start. Is the Cactus kind of just pushes Neon away, as that'll allow Kai as well just to get up on the high ground, at least for a split second. You know, C6 as well has really stepped it up, even though they're not on the Freya that they were comfortable on. Over on Ilios, still getting a bunch done to kind of keep that long range advantage in the favor of the Gachos. That is a just ridiculous Cactus to force a little bit of an awkward spot for Kai, but for now they'll survive.
Oh no, a interrupt!
Whoops.
That was almost really bad, but it's already even worse. Shearer broke his way through that backline that we were kind of concerned about and managed to take out 2, add a triple kill to that. And UCSB, they might just walk this payload home on the back of their Genji.
Yeah, it'll be up to Marmello to stall for a little bit, which, to be fair, if you're going to have a DPS stall, the Venture is on top of that list, as they can just burrow underneath, not even able to be hit when they're contesting, is almost gives it up.
0.008 meters here. Not fantastic to have to hold, but for NAU, they're holding on tight and praying for a miracle, which will never come. UCSB making quick work of their attack on Rialto, and we are tied up less than 5 minutes later.
Yeah, UCSB take full advantage of their map pick here on Rialto, and a very clean 1-0 on Rialto to even us up and make this best of 5 now a best of 3. And now NAU, I'm trying to think where they could even try and pivot here. They want to try and force this rush a little bit more, or maybe even the Diva. So maybe they go like a watch point and they ban out the Hazard, or they can go a King's Row and really dive into this Orisa. But I think honestly, this series is still wide open. Both of these teams have shown on maps that they're super comfortable on. They can really roll out, but NAU, they may have the advantage now because they won that map 1. If we keep alternating maps like this, they will get the final pick in map 5, where they obviously are pretty comfortable considering how many they've went to this year.
We're on that track right now. Let's just go with
Yeah.
that. So that is the direction that we're headed in. I am a little bit more worried for NAU in a long term, just because their composition isn't nearly as flexible as other
Yeah.
things. Yes, you have the Orisa and the Diva, but if one of those is banned or you're not on a map that is okay for it, versus a Hazard, you can ban it, but it's good basically anywhere
Pretty
you
much
could possibly
everywhere.
think of, like maybe outside of a Circuit Royale, you might not want to play it, but... Yeah, this is, I feel better for UCSB after that particular map. That was kind of dominance from start to finish and really did show that if they can have that positioning that they want, they can pull out these wins and make it not look hard at all.
Yeah, they can just pull out of nowhere and just roll through a map. So, yeah, now for NAU, it'll be a test of can they continue to bring these back and forth here on map 3. We'll figure out where they're heading and where they're taking us, I should say, for now this best of 3 tonight, right after this.
So far gone, I'm caught up, infatuated by our symmetry.
that was a good one. My producer told me, I was like, oh, are you ready? I'm like, oh no, let me get my water real quick because I want to make sure I'm hydrated. Proceed to choke on it actively. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're all good.
Hey,
ready now.
sometimes the best moves don't often work. It's okay.
It's okay. Oh, man, I got the eyes watering. I was a bad one. We're good now. We're ready. And
You good?
it's good. I honestly, that gave me like the rush of adrenaline I needed to be here for our next map, which was undecided. Actually, I was like, oh, we have it. No, we don't. I lied. So we get
Not
to
yet.
theorize a tad bit longer about what that will be. We kind of mentioned this a little bit at the start. Right at the start of map 2 there. That's something like a push or a flashpoint would make sense for this we like to play on the objective kind of thing and control our angles. Saravasa does just that.
Yeah, this is very much, even if you flip it early. We saw that in the last game, right? Like, you flip the objective early on Saravasa, then you kind of just hold it out and delay. And that's exactly how NAU won Ilios, right? Like, it's not the cleanest style of Overwatch, but hey, it gets the job done.
Yeah.
And they won the fights when they needed to. So that is the exact type of style that really fits NAU. And obviously, they feel pretty good about the rush. Hazard can be played here. He's maybe not the best. I'd say, like, a typical rush, Zarya, JQ, Orisa, they're going to be better most of the time on this map. So you may not have to burn the ban right away. And they actually will ban the D.Va ban on the other side. So NAU,
Interesting.
after UCSB banned it the first time they ban it, we'll see. Maybe we're missing something there. I'm not sure on that. Venture ban from UCSB. Venture super solid on Saravasa.
Yeah.
I know Molly probably makes you a little sad.
It does. How dare
You're the
you?
resident Venture
Respectful.
player in this call, so it makes sense.
Well, I've been appreciating the Marmello Ventro so far. That is the only thing
It's been
we
good.
have seen Marmello play, so something's gonna have to change in that department too. The D.Va ban, I wonder if it's because of the Orisa. It can
Maybe?
not be fun sometimes to play that into a D.Va, but in that time, why not ban the Hazard? But if you're gonna play Ramattra, that just doesn't really make sense to me. So we're gonna come back to that at a later point, but I am interested in specifically what the heck is Marmello gonna do, because that was like your main off-angle presence for the time being and just contesting pesky characters, whereas UCSB, they're just gonna stick with what's been working so far.
Yeah, so I wonder, I'm assuming these TPs are just for out of spawn. Usually we don't see the Symmetra last very long after that fact, as Shiro TP the T, and both will actually go over to the Genji. So that'll be the temporary answer for Marmello. We'll see if it's the same level of value that they were able to get on the Venture, like you said, but for now, UCSB, they will hold on to the Hazard. Obviously, kind of playing the hot hand with Kai, played very well in map 2, but for onshore, it'll just be the Ramattra. Very solid pick. It's fallen out of the meta a tiny bit, but when you don't have to deal with the D.Va, it helps a lot.
It does. You have a bit more presence, but even then, I don't even think that's going to specifically be enough. You do end up getting the back on a Stanley, but you lose out on the objective, and now on Sherbrooke as a result. So Kai, free leaping ground, if you want to think about it that way. And by the way, didn't die at all last map. Gonna keep that streak for now.
Yeah, continuing the streak for now. Another fight goes the way of the Gachos, and I will say for NAU, the game plan has to be, work your way in, and either bait Kai into a jump in and try and find the punish right away, or you almost have to ignore Kai when they go in and try and find elimination onto Hydra or Stanley or Sheer. Just because the Hazard, once they get that spike right up, can be so hard to finally get that finishing blow.
Oh.
Meanwhile, on shore, kind of caught in no man's land, and that'll be another reset.
Oh, it was a great cactus from Kai, too. And that helped
Great
facilitate that. Didn't hide the positioning, does it there again onto Marmello and make sure Sheer can get out safely. That should just be the point. If NAU decide to push, you're not going to do it without your Genji. And at this point in time, it's just better to wait for the next point. See if you can get priority on the positioning or the spawns, which can't really tell. Yeah, it does seem like they will. We are going to Temple next.
Yep. So that is perfect for UCSB. They win the gamble. NAU kind of gambled on the other side of the map, and granted, it's a complete, 25 and 50-50 shot. which side of the map we'll travel to. But now, very early, Kitsune Rush of Hydro.
As UCSB not giving NAU a chance to fight, but Onshore Rook says, all right, come at me, takes out Kai. No tank now for UCSB, and now that Kitsune Rush is gone, you're kind of looking at the CPS now. Sheer and C6 both have their ults up, but they're not even going to be able to have to use them. Onshore Rook didn't have Nemesis for him, had to back off, and now just going to lose the point.
Yeah, they'll lose the point. Another swap enters now as Marmello goes over to the Reaper, maybe trying to deal with Kai a little more straight on. Sheer,
Whoa!
not done with this fight, pops the blade onto Neon, but won't get anything else from it, as, you know, they are kind of near the NAU spawn, so that was only going to get so much done.
Sheer wasn't done, but probably should have been in that
Probably should have
situation.
been.
Yeah, NAU know they have the advantage. They're gonna go in as fast as possible. But Noodle, by the way, did come in as a sub for this map. She has the Kitsune Rush online, but hasn't been using it yet. You're actually gonna wait for the sound barrier to come out. Hopefully this will be enough to help them sustain, but I see the supports go scarily low, and C6 hits the shot onto the Kiriko. Limited healing, Neon knows it. Sound barrier out. Finally gets rid of that Sojourn, and the added presence of the Marmello Reaper seems to help this front line.
Yeah, the fact that NAU there, once Stanley popped to the sound barrier, they're still able to live long enough. Yes, they lose one member, but that's really about it. They can sit back and then counterpunch with their own sound barrier. That time it was a great one from Neon after a not fantastic Rialto, and that really helps NAU win that fight. Evens us up now on this flashpoint with Onshore. Has the Annihilation now on deck with no real answer with an ultimate on the other side.
Yeah, playing this nice and chill for the time being is UCSB. They're taking their time to get in the positions that they want to. Nemesis form is out. That means Annihilation is next on the chopping block. It'll be a 1-for-1, but Onshore Rook not seeing any signs telling him to stop. However, the loss of both DPS starts to get a little concerning. It doesn't really matter though, they still somehow pull out the damage. The burst down Kai and NAU, they're in overtime. It took so long for UCSB to get in position that the entire point was captured during that fight. Sheer and Stanley came back, yes, but it's just not gonna matter with Onshore Rook punching away like he is.
Yeah, Onshore Rook on an absolute tear, just punching everybody up. And it'll be 1-1 now on Suravasa. Suravasa's nice little rebound there for NAU. As now we'll head over as, once again, UCSB wins the lottery, going to be closer to this next flashpoint. So they'll have plenty of time to set up, but NAU may try and take advantage of the lopsided fight.
They're gonna try, but it'll be the downpour out first. Doesn't look like that managed to land on anybody too crazy. Stanley, though, on a mission. He's dead, though. Mission has failed. Sheer trying to redeem it. Oh, that's 2 slings, 2 kills for him on this Genji. Fantastic Dragonblight. It's so hard to get value like that in the age of 2025. So that'll just win UCSB the fight that they were going to lose.
Yeah, nice little comeback there for UCSB as it looked all NAU for a lot of that engagement, but they're able to pull on through, and you can see Kaiden just trying to force everybody off that high ground, and all of a sudden rush into Kai. Kai doesn't know what to do.
I don't think Kai wants to be in that room, though.
No.
Definitely regretting that decision against Marmello's Reaper and Onshore Rooks with Matra. Kainam's gonna pop this overclock here just to make sure you can clean everything up, which is necessary considering Sheer still managed to get one, even if it was the Sojourn. NAU will manage to get themselves a flip.
Yeah, flip comes through from NAU and Marmello. We were you know, kind of curious how they would do without the Venture. Obviously, that's kind of what they've popped off on these first 2 maps, but the Reaper has been really good so far, and it's really helped kind of settle down Kai, right? Kai doesn't have as much free roam as they did during the previous few maps, and honestly, even during the beginning of this map, because now you have to worry about a Reaper. Just with those Hellfire shotguns being on you 24/7, tease your spike guard a little bit more smart.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do as a hazard. That overclock, though, buys so much space, and Neon just used the sound barrier after the ultimate is over and attempted tempo up, which would have been great if Stanley didn't have one up of his own to match it. The Kitsune rushes both late on the point, but that overclock, it was been too long. It's back up, ready to go. Zones everybody into the disruptor shot of Kynan and NAU Varsity. That's just going to be another point for them unless UCSB can manage another touch.
Yeah, great annihilation there from Onshore Rook to win that fight. Yeah, Kai is around. They will, trigger overtime here for UCSB, but no, I have a feeling they're so low. Yeah, they won't even get back over to the point. These stalls are kind of just trivial. Sheer will just back up, not realizing it's not even worth it at that point. NAU, they win their second flashpoint in a row, and they will get to map points as the rotation now all the way back to the other side of the map.
It'll be Palace for the next one, and again, not the priority positioning that NAU want. Just have not won the RNG for that today, but they're gonna do their best to try to walk in the face of Kai, who has another downpour. It's a very difficult ultimate to get value out of. Does manage to lock up the tank, who's kind of chilling. Ramontra with block. Seems like he's infinite HP, but C6 was behind him and able to ignore most of that reduced block damage. Kynan and Marmello getting a couple trades here and there, but at the end of the day, UCSB were here first, and they'll plant their flag.
Yeah, for whatever reason, UCSB is just, continuing to get the luck of having the next flashpoint be a little bit closer to them, lets them set up. But it's been NAU in these second fights, right? They've really been able to find the answer every single time, and this time, it might be from Marmello once again. Death Blossom in hand. No support ultimate to match, so they made its way out to Suzu, and there it is, very early. I think that was from Wet Noodle, though.
Yeah, it was Wet Noodle Suzu on the other side, so Sheer, that's a Dragon Blade, and oh my gosh, denied 10 ways to tomorrow is the Genji. No heroics from Sheer this time, it's all Marmello on this Reaper, down to home on it so far away from the Venture, and I'm liking the way it looks.
Yeah, it looks great, and also a brilliant shot there from Kynan on the Sheer. It got them supremely low. It was all you had to do if you're a Marmello was breathe on Sheer, and they were gonna fall over. As a great shot there from Kynan. Genji Blade in your face can be a little bit of a stressful situation, but they handled it extremely well. Now for UCSB, they'll have this rush to usher in with C6 having the overclock, but they gotta make sure and actually find something here. They've been struggling to get some value out of these ults.
Well, the Kitsune rush will at least break the door down and actually catches Neon off guard. Wasn't expecting Sheer to be up top. That's an overclock we were talking about, but the space is just entirely denied. Look how close Onshore Rook is playing to that Sojourn. There's no chance for them to get the space, and all the meanwhile, Marmello TP'd on up, landed a couple of shotgun blasts that you needed, and NAU, they've been dragging these fights out longer, but they are 4% away from the sound barrier. Stanley's can't be matched. The win con is available, but so is the annihilation. Onshore Rook is all the health you can ask. It is properly zoned. Kai can return, but at 96% and still going up here, UCSB have to win this fight if they want to keep Surabasa going. Onshore Rook going down is a great start, and the fact the sound barrier was used makes it an even better scenario. But they are down their tank as well. It's a 4v4, and they're not winning in the health battle. Wet Noodle, she's going crazy on this Kiri, keeping her whole team up while dishing out the damage. You couldn't ask for more in the support. Neon helps clean up the rest, and it's only down to Sheer. Not a ton of health remaining either in that department. Neon pushes up, Kynan gets the final blow, and the downpour goes completely wide for UCSB. Kai, last one standing under this pressure that NAU Varsity are applying, and just like that, NAU back on it after a brutal map loss and are at match point.
And here's that back and forth we were talking about. I think this is why they've also seen so many map 5s. I'm guessing this is how it's gone a lot of the time, is just this consistent back and forth. But yeah, Marmello on the first map outside of Venture still played extremely well to deal with Kai, and it allowed, honestly, everybody else on the team as well to perform, because they weren't worrying about that hazard being in their face with the, the giant, slash plays all over the place. So yeah, that was a great map for NAU, and now the power goes back into the hands of UCSB. Where do the gachos want to send us? We got a little bit of options. Could go to push if they want to go that direction, but that's kind of that objective, continuous thing that for whatever reason NAU has been fantastic on tonight, I'd say it's more likely we see a hybrid of some sort, as they looked fantastic on Escort. Rialto, it didn't really feel like it was that good of a map because UCSB kind of ran it similar to how NAU, again, in an unconventional way, but they ran it over in map 1 on Ilios.
They find a way to make it happen. And I think NAU have a lot of very strong components to their roster, and they like to thrive in the chaos. They're not a team that needs to have everybody up at one time, but they need to be on the same page. And that's the one thing that NAU has done extraordinarily well today. There hasn't been one standout player for that particular reason. They're always so grouped up as a unit. Their target focus is on point when they do have it. The only thing that's been a little wonky is some of the ultimate uses or just kind of tracking in that way. That's thrown them off, which I also think amplifies the issue of like an Escort or a hybrid map. So assuming that's where we would go, I would highly recommend a hybrid if I was UCSB now, especially with how good he looks on the previous one. How exactly are you going to play that with this hazard? Because I also think the Marmello discovery of the Reaper here, I'm the last person who doesn't want to have a adventure on the team, but I think that looks a lot more consistent than what we were seeing in the past.
Yeah, and Reaper was banned map 1 as well, so maybe they wanted to run it map 1 and just couldn't because of the map bans. And Reaper on Rialto was just rough. As the sub here,
it's Cartman on NAU
Cartman's
for
in.
tank.
Okay,
Ooh.
so maybe interesting. Okay, well, I'm very curious what this map ends up being then. Is Cartman will make their first appearance of this series here on map 4. As they'll look to try and finish this one out, and it will be push, actually. They will not go hybrid. It'll be Esperanza, which created more dive-esque of the push maps, right? It's not like New Queen Street where, we're running Junker Queen or Orisa or Zarya a lot of the times. Here you're going to see, Winston, D.Va. We've even seen a lot of teams run Wrecking Ball on this map because there's a lot of cool lanes the ball can go through, a lot of high ground as well that they can grapple off of. So maybe that's the play from Cartman, maybe a ball or a dive specialist here for NAU.
That's what you gotta be thinking. The D.Va can't be banned on either side. We saw a little bit of that in map number 1, but either you're matching the hazard or it's like a ball or doom sort of specialist. I feel like that those are typically the reasons we see tank subs in this current day and age. I was wondering if we were going to get a hazard ban this game, because that is also a very strong hero on this map. Neither. We are going to avoid the tank role entirely. It is Lucio and Genji, which understandable when UCSB were winning fights. It was often because of sheer, and this Lucio, you just want that extra burst of speed, so we're wanting to slow down the pace a bit more, which whenever these fights have gone slower, that's where NAU has felt the most comfortable.
Yeah, the slower the fight, the better it has been for NAU. Is now, bang a drum here. Is that a drum or is that one of the Lucio
I think that's a ball.
balls? I think that's a ball from Lucio Ball, which, Summer Games, I think it's a little far away now. We're on the other side of summer. I don't know about you. I was looking at the weather forecast the other day. We're supposed to get snow already.
Oh, don't tell me that.
None of it's supposed to stick.
But it's still snow in November.
It's still snowing early November. So winter is here, everybody. Winter has arrived. NAU, they'll let you just go on the hazards. I wonder if Cartman is just more used to playing push or just feels very comfortable on the hazard and wanted to give it a shot. The interesting pick here is actually Sheer for UCSB on the Echo. It's a hero we don't see a whole lot of right now, but it'll be a lot on the wet noodle and kind of to keep the Echo at bay, because it's not like Cartman or Marmello is really going to have too many opportunities to take the Echo out of the sky.
I mean, this scares me a lot, I'm not gonna lie. It's a very glass cannon pick. However, it's Neon, though, that gets the first blow here. Happy to be off Lucio, it seems, as the time being, just with that pick. But as we did see, the advantage the Echo has is this massive output of burst. If you're able to stay safe, Cartman was instantly taken out, and UCSB are happy to keep pushing.
Yeah, UCSB win the first fight. And I think the battle of the Wuyongs actually might be interesting, because Neon wins it that time around, but it's still UCSB who wins the fight as a whole. And this is another map Now you can see even the orbs right there, whipping around the corner. So anybody chilling in that doorway you would think are normally safe aren't.
And they got a little sketchy for sure, but Cartman, again, just diving in by himself. Not too much of a support. And NAU, they look so good on these Brawl comps because they can play as a unit. But with something like a Hazard or a Dive, where you don't have like a Genji Tracer that can quickly follow you, rushing like that is going to hurt you at the end of the day. And UCSB have been quick to punish it so far.
Yeah, the Death Ball style just doesn't work as well with this kind of composition as Kai.
Uh-oh.
Trials in the high ground, they barely are going to get through. And tick will be achieved. Nobody from NAU able to touch in time. That'll cue a little bit of a retreat for UCSB is, yeah, C6. Kind of got left in a tricky spot once Kai left, and they will be punished.
Yeah, Cartman over to the Winston. I think I like it a little bit better to match the Winston. You have slightly more safety, I guess, but I just want to see him be a little bit closer to where the rest of the team is positioning, since we are in a slower pace with this Lucio now. We burrow in, quick spawn, or the support ultimates, Rain's Kitsune Rush, so incredibly low there. And NAU, they're looking for their opening, and Marmello able to finally nail that pick onto the Kiriko, but is it perhaps too late? C6 and Kai found their successful synergy on the dive after the recently swapped Reaper, or not recently swapped, but rather working now, Reaper. Marl gets the one, but even that, it's just not enough to pull it together.
Yeah, and I believe during at least some of that advanced spawns was active, but not for extremely long. They'll have to re-queue it now here for the gachos, but they'll have no complaints. On the other side, Cartman makes a few swaps, thinks it's the Orisa initially, eventually ends up on the Junker Queen as, yes, Kitsune Rush is available here for Wet Noodle after Ray used it last fight, but I don't know, she'll have a lot to do as, you can see right there, UCSB not willing to take a fight that's going to put them in a bad spot.
They know that the Kitsune Rush is there, but you also have 4 of your own ultimates to pop out. Tidal Blast and the Death Blossom in the middle of the point, results in a 1-for-1 and a better one on the side of NAU. But Cartman just gets bursted down between this Echo and this Reaper. It's so hard to exist as any tank on the objective, and UCSB have just been dumping everything onto him.
Yeah, just so many resources going on through with NAU. No real answer to this so far, and the Echo is, you know, a pick we were, you know, pointing out because, hey, it's not played often, but early on it was because it could, you know, really slim down the Hazard, but now it's just been still getting consistent value even with the JQ win.
And they were kind of hoping to use that JQ speed for the Kitsune Rush, but USCSB move away so fast. Fantastic overclock though from Kynan. Knocks out the duplicate form in the blink of an eye. This is the fight that NAU wanted to take. A bit of a sneaky payload cap, but Kai, survives at 22 HP. That was so close from knocking away those forward spawns.
And they didn't have to use the Primal as well. I thought Kai was going to use it there at the very end, but he'll actually hold on to it, and this is the part where if you build such a egregious early lead here, right? They nearly 90 meters for the gachos as we enter the halfway mark of this map. Now you can just play up here on high ground. You don't need to always play exactly where the buy is located. You can wait for NAU to get into an awkward spot and then move in.
Well, they already did the move-in part. Neon is currently dead, and Wet Noodle not faring all that much better. But it does force out the Primal Rage from Kai as something Dolan's for it. And you just don't have the sustain to keep it going. Cartman close to a Rampage. I don't believe you're going to have a great window to end up using it in this particular battle. You're going to wait for the rest of your team to respawn and look for a wipe.
Yeah, it's now 100-meter mark reached here for UCSB, and they just continue to roll on. I think this Junker Queen, it's been struggling to get a ton of value because there's nobody to really run at, right? Like, the Reaper can just fade away and Wraith away. The Echo can fly away. Both DPS supports have a ton of mobility. And that's really been the issue of this composition. They've been struggling to close the gap, but this Rampage could give them a chance.
Yeah, And you can already tell, NAU moving in, Cartman chasing down the Reaper, Marmello there on the assist. We're seeing this team play where NAU have looked the strongest on so far. A lot of spacing, yeah. Marmello putting pressure on these supports, splitting them, but that's exactly what Kai is doing to the back line of NAU. Problem is, NAU don't have a ton of room to give right now, but they do have 4 shiny buttons to use at their disposal. Iconic shot from Marmello. Kind of push some of these players away, and it will help secure the elim onto Kai. UCSB now in full reset mode, and ended up wasting their own duplicate.
C6 hits a little bit of a shrug in the back line of NAU, just realizing they don't need to push in. They don't need to try and find a pick super early, especially now that their DPS counterpart is dead. They still will get the close spawns, though, so not total disaster for UCSB, but how will C6 try and get back into this fight? Close respawns finally flip back over to normal for UCSB, but now if you're NAU, you gotta win consecutive fights if you want to give yourself a chance.
The Rampage can definitely help with that if you can just get out this protection Suzu. And to start, both the teams down a DPS, but Kai very much overextends in that instance. NAU able to punish and don't even need to use a single ultimate, which is huge considering how many consecutive fights. As just said, Jesse, they gotta win.
Yeah, need to win a punch consecutively. I'd say at least 2 to 3 more if they want to give themselves any sort of opportunity to win this map and finish it off here instead of going to a map 5. There's 3 ultimates available for NAU. Same here for UCSB, as they will earn close spawns. So now the tick has been held by both teams. This could be a massive fight for NAU.
This is arguably like map deciding fight coming up, considering the amount of time we have left, which isn't a lot, and this is going to be one of the biggest ult rotations you are going to have while the map is still active. But as usual, we're seeing teams take their time. NAU like to force this payload until they can't anymore, but they lose Marmel to the Flyer, and C6 will strike first. Double kill off the Death Blossom, and only that needed to be used there for UCSB. Great efficiency.
Yeah, phenomenal efficiency. Just 1-for-1 all trade, and UCSB able to win it. Everybody for NAU will get close spawns, so still at a pretty good spot here but on this map. But you gotta think, if UCSB wins 1 or 2 more fights, NAU will have to be perfect towards the end, and that is a beautiful combo.
Wow! Picture perfect. Every single sticky bomb lands with the perk, mind you. Kyle leaps in from above with the tidal blast attached. UCSB, they're winning these fights, and with these perfect combos before NAU even know what's going on.
Yeah, that was just fantastic. Stickies into the jump in with tidal blast. There is physically nothing NAU can do in that situation. Now tidal blast goes on to Cartman to try and find something, but it finds nothing.
I still have this Rampage too. Kynan actually finds value out of the Deadeye. Kai is down. It's best case scenario, but you still lose out on your own tank. Sheer is alive, and there's not a particular answer to that with everyone else being dead. And like this Marmello swap back over to the Reaper, it adds a lot more pressure onto Kai, which you're going to need in the last minute.
Yeah, you'll need to have that at least to stall this out. Kai, Primal Rage, 2 ultimates as well for UCSB. In the complete driver's seat to bring us to a map 5, but NAU not giving up on it yet. They'll give up though on the long range, kinda. Just due to this being down, we are in full panic mode. For NAU, it'll be the Tracer, which we haven't seen at all during this map, and that'll just help them get back into these fights even quicker.
And they're gonna need it. Only this Rampage remaining. Hartman held on it for quite some time. It needs to make an impact here and now, but Marmello already dead. The double shotgun perk will make sure of it, and the Rampage, it just doesn't land the way that you needed it to for NAU. Oh, Jesse, we said the stat line at the beginning of the series, and honestly, it would have been a shame if we didn't make it there. NAU varsity gonna find themselves in yet another map 5 series as UCSB make their comeback in each bronza.
Man, NAU just love their game 5s. Like that's all that I've learned today is they love going to game 5 regardless of the situation. As yeah, just an incredible series so far between these two teams, and yeah, for whatever reason they just love it. Like you look through I'm looking through UCSB's season right now. Sweep, 3-1. They did go 3-2 into SFU, so this is
Okay.
not their first time going to map 5, but no, this will only be the second one this year. And you know, like you said, we talked about it top of the show. A whole lot of map 5s for NAU. So they're 4-1 in these scenarios. No, 3-1 or 4-1, I believe, in
3
these
and
scenarios.
1. 3 and 1
3 and
and
1.
winning.
Yes. 3-1 in these
Yes.
scenarios, and now looking to go 4-1, which honestly, being able to win in these late type in game scenarios is a major playoff boost for any team. But for NAU, if they can end the regular season on this kind of high note, potentially even gain some better seeding out of it, they could really be doing themselves some favors for playoffs.
And only one more map will determine that extra seeding as we head into those playoffs. It's a momentum boost, yes, but now all the marbles, of course, on the line, wanting to take away your last regular season game. We're going to go ahead, though, send it to one more quick break, and we're going to come back to you with the final game of our series.
Nothing cuts quite like a memory, especially one that you're trying to forget. But I can't find the energy to rewind and reset. I know you don't wanna be used, but you use me to build up. You build up to break me down. How does it feel? How does it feel to knock me around? Oh, I'll make a sound. Oh, I'll make a sound until I hit the ground. Oh, I'll make a sound. So don't shoot me down. Alright, we're not broken. We're just getting off the ground.
Given the historic records of our teams competing in their final regular season game of their Division 3 season, it would have been a shame to not finish this one off in a Game 5 series. It is now final map pick up to Northern Arizona University. It will be, wait. We've talked about this before. It's for sure hybrid, right? Do we have to play hybrid?
No,
I feel
I
like we've
think
had
they
this
can-
conversation. It's open now, right?
I believe it's open now, yeah.
It's open now. Okay.
Yeah.
That's helpful. So we had to clarify. It does get it gets a little mixed up here and there based on what that is, because it depends on league. But for NECC, you're not locked into hybrid. You can choose from anything that is not already played. NAU, though, have yet another substitution. They are putting Squid back in, and Onshore Rook will also be returning for the 5th and final map. Now, NAU, Jesse, it's their turn to win a map if we're going by this alternating order, but they'll have to do it on their own map pick, and pretty confidently, considering how well UCSB has been doing.
Yeah, no, they'll have to, and we'll go back to all reliable here for map
Okay.
5. It will be Lijiang Tower. Obviously, NAU swept on Ilios, so very comfortable in control from the looks of it, but we'll see if they can win another map 5 series, which would, absolutely insane stat line to be 4-1, to have all but one of your wins if they win this in map 5 games. That is just absolutely ridiculous. For UCSB, they've only been in one map 5 this entire regular season, and they did win it. So they're at least familiar with it, as it will be now the Reaper band from NAU and the Ramatra band from UCSB.
So this tells me that UCSB, one, they don't want to brawl. They want to stick with this Hazard or Winston or something along that lines, which makes sense. UCSB has looked better on that as all. But NAU, I'm feeling pretty good about them in this map. I'm just thinking about how well they played the objectives on any map that has had a standing objective throughout the entire day. They've won all of them. Now, how are they going to play it? Because you have the option to go with the Diva again, which I wouldn't hate, but the Orisa also makes sense on this particular map, especially Control Center, and playing as this Core 5 unit has been their best look by far today.
Oh yeah, it's easily been their best look. Yeah, not a shock. They're going back to the Orisa, going back to these almost like Death Ball-y style. And this is one of the few maps right now that Symmetra is still fantastic. Obviously, Sim is all right in other maps, but, you know, Lijiang Tower, she's been good for a long time, even when she isn't meta. The TPs, the turret placements, especially here on Night Market, you can TP over to point, but it will not be the case here for Sheer. They'll go back over to the Echo. That worked extremely well. NAU, though, they will go the traditional TP on the point.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Once you get Marmello in position, it'll be very difficult to remove any of his turrets. And once the Symmetra game charges up, your fight's pretty much over if you can't take him out almost instantly after. UCSB, though, they're playing this poke game with both C6 and Sheer on the Cass and Echo, respectively. You need to play slow, break through these defenses, but Kai, already sub 200 HP, has to leap away. Javelins yet again to the wall. No elims happened, but NAU looks so confident on the point.
Yeah, NAU, they're just going to continue to be locked down here. Sheer just trying to find some sort of way in. Eventually, it's on the kind of the stickies early, and C6, they'll finish it off.
It was, for UCSB, it was a waiting game. Don't let Kai die while your DPS can slowly wrap around towards these sides and put pressure on at all angles. That's the only way you can break through a Symmetra hold like that.
Yeah, you basically have to avoid going down main as a unit. You have to try and find those off angles to not only break the turrets, but, you know, try and stretch the attention a little bit from the defending side. And that's exactly what UCSB did. It's only 25% for NAU before the flip, and Kai, well, playing a little bit of a dangerous game, will eventually get out with just over half of their health remaining, but already both teams support ultimates. Great, and that was a great answer.
Yeah, that works the first time, or when your enemy isn't on the point. This time, though, Sheer was on the point, looked at it, chucked 6 sticky bombs in the general direction, and half the HP was gone from nearly all of NAU. The synergy with the Echo has been great.
Yeah, no, the Echo has been kind of the flip here that nobody really saw coming, but it's worked, you know, absolutely phenomenally for UCSB, especially with those kind of TP strats. And Marmello, considering how poorly that one went, they'll go back over to the venture that they started this series on. And what a great jump there, but that window can make things difficult.
Oh, Kai's alive? I'm sorry. Great Tidal Blast timing. Gets stunned onto both support Squid. No HP remaining, and the Deadeye from C6 down main. There just wasn't a way to kite away from everything. They were surrounded and had no shot at getting out alive. UCSB looking strong on this map so far.
It was a great window as well from Squid. I honestly don't even blame them for popping it there. It was just UCSB played it perfectly. Kai just stays alive for so long, playing around the bubble and using that Tidal Blast, and now jumps right back in to use the Primal.
Sheer's in the backline, getting no attention, by the way, from this team, because NAU, they have to move forwards just to contest the point, and eventually that Echo will find the damage that it needs. NAU, yeah, they got there, yeah, they got close to a flip, but that's just not going to be enough. The Sheer Echo is turned into a minor problem too. Oh no, the red lights are going off. Something needs to be done, because UCSB need one more point, and map 5 is theirs.
Yeah, one round away here for UCSB to finish guaranteed top 3 in Division 3, the West Central A Conference. And it'll be up to NAU. Can they find some sort of answer here? It will be, I believe it's Control Center, if I caught that correctly. We'll find out here in a sec. Nope, I'm wrong. It's Gardens.
Not even close.
Well, it was 50-50 shot. But that's why they'll go over to the Diva, playing this full-on dive. This is especially the round. You want to run dive. It's so wide open, which definitely plays into the advantage of UCSB, because there's also so many places where Sheer can fly around to and use his natural cover as Echo.
Sheer is extra scary here, so NAU, they're mobilizing themselves more. That's great. You do much better against the dives. Your supports aren't just sitting ducks if Kai or Sheer jump in as they have been. And Kainen just has better ability to go on some of these off angles independently, while we get to see Marmello and Onshore Rook take this front line down bit by bit. Kai not prepared for the burrow to burst him down that low, and NAU varsity happy to be here on Gardens.
Yeah, just right back home. Team kill for NAU on the first fight. Is a beautiful dissection there of the fight. And now Sheer, granted, there's no theoretical hit scan they have to deal with, but like you said, Kainen did a great job just marking the Echo, making sure they can't get too close to really fully utilize those sticky and focusing beam combos. Kainen, on the other hand, great flash and kill from C6.
Yeah, as soon as you hear that flashbang, you can kind of feel Kainen start to panic, but you're just committed at that point. There wasn't a choice. And with Kainen going down that early, UCSB don't have to worry about a little mosquito floating around in their back line, and will put all their pressure towards this tank. Will leave NAU with about 40% left by the time the flip happens.
Yeah, nice little stall coming out from Kainen and Squid, but no, the flip eventually does go through 43%. For NAU, and now the Gachos looking to build their own run here on Gardens. I wonder who the dupe would be here from Sheer. I wonder if it's just Marmello or Kainen. Maybe an outside chance that it's Neon if they want to build an extra sound barrier for this fight, considering they don't have the Lucio on their side.
No, you don't have an answer to that. So UCSB just have to bank off of doing more of this burst than anything else. Squid, though, has the Kitsune rush slightly earlier than Reigns. NAU will use that to their advantage. While they can in C6 in a very scary situation, eventually wraps around to the point, uses the Deadeye, grab the final blow onto Neon, and the self-destruct there just to take a couple people out. But yeah, at the end of the day, Onshore Rook grabs the self-destruct. Ton of ults being committed into this fight at the tail end of it, so NAU can guarantee they get the control.
Yeah, NAU find the flip. You can tell C6 was like trying to get out of range of that self-destruct. Just couldn't do it in time because Onshore Rook almost does not get back into mech. But they will, NAU, they will hold on to the lead here on round 2. No, they're trying to hold on to this bridge. Dion has the sound barrier if they need it here to try and bring this to one fight territory.
Marmello, though, getting very aggressive with the burrow. Now it's a matter of these counter dives, but Kai already snuck his way into the backline. Squid is down, so is the majority of the healing for NAU. UCSB snowballing forwards as fast as they can. This is going to be close to final fight, especially since the sound barrier was already pulled out. Because the control is going to be flipped back over, NAU will settle for this and only need to win one more. The map is theirs.
Yeah, the map and the series will be theirs if they can win one more fight. And they have the primal range kind of just to disrupt. Sheer still has this duplicate as well. So they're in a fantastic spot. If you're NAU, you got to rely on a mistake here from the Gachos or a very quick rush, but that's not how you can start that fight.
No, Onshore Rook goes in so fast. Nobody could keep up the Susie from Squid. Just a hair too late. The vision was there. I see the need to be rushed. You get scared seeing the time on the clock. But the fact that they get the point flip is huge for NAU. They still have the control. They'll get it up to 100 now and have a guaranteed another fight you can come back and give it a swing.
Yeah, the Sults play it a little fast, but yeah, earning that flip maybe saves them this series. As now they don't have to rush extremely fast. They have the Kitsune rush from Squid as well to get into this.
Squid's going to end up using it early. Will be the response to the Tidal Blast in the back line. That's full support taken care of already. UCSB Gold, 9% remaining on this point. And NEU, they're grasping at straws, seeing what else they can pull. There's a pulse bomb behind, and it goes a little bit wide. No ultimates at their grasp from C6. Will be returning it for Deadeye, but it's not even needed. UCSB will take the final win of their season in a map 5.
UCSB, they will finish off at, what, 6-1 during the season. A great end here for the Gachos, as they will guarantee themselves a top 3 finish here in this group of Division 3. For NAU, they still make the playoffs at 4-3, just not able to get it done on map 5 this time around. But honestly, both teams we have to look out for here in Division 3. Each have their own very unique styles. This time, it was just, I don't want to say, I don't feel like poise is the right word here, but just, we kind of talked about the flexibility that UCSB had eventually got them the win, as they were able to show so many different looks. And then Echo at the end was a real game changer here for the Gachos.
I genuinely think if Sheer didn't find comfort in that Echo, we would have been seeing a much different outcome today.
Yeah.
I think the Tracer was just answered by the Cassidy. Same kind of goes with the Genji. And at that point in the series, like, what else can you try? Well, theoretically, Echo doesn't like Cassidy very well, but Sheer just didn't really care about that. And it was the ability to mesh with Kai on a lot of these initial dives that ended the fights before NAU could get fully set up and execute the way that they wanted to. Because if they could get to that position, fight done, they ended up winning it. And that's where we see UCSB start to realize, if we're going to take this series, we need to get there first. We need to get our players ready so that we can pounce while our opponent is off guard.
Yeah, no, it was great, just kind of quick thinking there from UCSB. Like, hey, take advantage of these fights. Take advantage of, the 5v4s, the 4v2s, whatever it is. And just don't allow NAU to have these clean 5-on-5s where they can dictate the pace and they can dictate when the ultimates are used. It was a great little setup there from UCSB and a great way to end their regular season. I'm very excited to see where they get seeded in the playoffs, which, again, it's crazy to say. Regular season's done, everybody.
I know.
Already there. Playoffs start next week.
A double Elam bracket, too. So it's going to be a long one, for sure. So you got to buckle up. I think it ends in, like, early December. It's maybe the first week of December. I think it's the last week when finals will be played. So these teams still have so much game ahead of them as they prepare for the end of what has been a very solid fall for Collegiate Overwatch.
Yeah, no, this fall has been chaotic, to say the least, not only here at NECC, but in general. So very curious to see, and such a eventful semester that it has been, to see how it all shapes up here at NECC. Big thank you to our sponsors, as always, Extron, Wenzel's, Buy Blue Light. All of them do a fantastic job for helping us keep the lights on over here at NECC and help us bring these types of broadcasts for you every week. So massive thank you to them.
Yes, of course. And it takes everybody to make this happen. Support of the schools, the team, sponsors, and everybody, of course, behind the scenes, putting in the work to get these NECC games happening. But that's going to go ahead and do it for us here on our weekly broadcast of NECC. Regular season is set and done, but the playoffs are right around the corner. We're going to pick up with that playoff action up next week, I believe, is when that is going to start. So make sure, go ahead, drop a follow on the NECC channel. Stay updated to all of our collegiate game titles that will be broadcasted on here. Support these students in their journey through the collegiate scene. And we're going to go ahead, call it a night. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you Monday for the continuation of the NECC playoffs.